What? Are you on the podcast? Yes, I'm still on the podcast. Sorry.
Now he's hearing voices.
I didn't see the fourth box, but this is what happened a few weeks ago. Oh God, now my Alexa's talking to me. Jesus Christ.
We're all hearing
voices. Oh my God. Are you still doing the podcast?
She never gets old.
She doesn't age.
And now you have your phone.
Yes, and now I have my phone. You're on the microphone. All right, thanks, baby. Go brush your teeth and go to bed. I love you. Good night, princess.
Oh.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Brilliant. Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. Let's stare intently at our screens and decode some hidden messages from this film, y'all. I'm Allison.
I'm Slate.
And I'm Josh.
We'll roll right into the question of the week. So have either of you ever experienced an instance where you realized you couldn't trust your own brain, such as remembering something completely differently or not remembering something really significant? And I added the caveat that something that happened while you were drunk does not count.
Yeah, that had eliminated half my list.
Right.
For sure. For sure. It's not necessarily something that happened or while I was thinking while I was drunk. It would have been like, oh, no, I remembered it this way. And it's like, nah, it's not necessarily the way it happened, buddy. Josh, you want to go first or you want me to go? I'm open.
Yeah, I'll roll. I had trouble with this one because I know there's things that have come up, more serious or more affecting of my life that I just can't recall, like instances where would have applied. But I will say I know for sure, like a lot of times when I've read something or written something and gone back and like, especially things that I've written, it's interesting. Like, so I've, been a writer professionally in some form or fashion for 15 years roughly. And it's astonishing how often I'll write something, read it, think that's good, that's great, that's, pretty good, whatever it is, send it out into the world, revisit it 6 months, a year later, and think, man, like that's horseshit. Like how did why did I ever think that this was something good? And some of that's like just you get better or your style changes or little things here and there. But also I do think there's times where whatever the moment is when you're because a lot of times that's on a deadline, like you're trying to just press through and react real quick and get something out there, especially with sports writing and stuff. And I think what feels good in the moment where you're under a lot of stress, suddenly you look back and have even like a couple days later, this happened to me just this week. I filed a story that I kind of knew was a little shaky, but also like it felt fine. And then like I was talking with the guy who edited it and was just like, he got to it pretty quickly. And this was probably 7 hours later. And I read what he did to it. I'm like, this is way better. Like, this is a way better story than what I turned in. Why did I even file what I turned in, even though, it felt okay. It served its purpose. So that to me, I guess that's the thing, even though it's not that serious, that's the one I probably experienced the most is that kind of thing.
Okay. For me, I don't remember exactly like what the phenomena is called or what the term they use for it. But like the times where I'm like, okay, maybe I can't trust my brain. One of them actually occurred on this episode when we were talking with Brian Raftery about Hannibal Lecter. And he says that in the very first Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter never says, "Hello, Clarice." And yet that's what everybody remembers. And it doesn't happen until the second film. Crazy. Never knew that until he said it.
The Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Yeah. Okay. Same thing. The Monopoly guy doesn't have a monocle. Get out of your get the fuck out of here. He has a monocle. Okay? Like, that was one. What's another one? There's,
Berenstain Bears.
Oh, yeah, the Berenstain Bears one, yeah.
Yeah, there was another one that
Plato
I had
in
earlier.
front of No Man's Land.
You're like, yeah, there you go. That's another one too, which is crazy because you did clip that out, and I thank you for that. But we've now mentioned it multiple times, and it's like got to be on the blooper reel or something where you piece those two together. Because
the other big one is Pikachu's tail.
Okay,
doesn't have a black stripe.
But he's got a black tip.
I don't think he has black in his tail, does he?
He's got black.
I remember him having like a zigzag stripe or something, and that is not absolutely not the case. But apparently that's a pretty popular one too.
Yeah, there's so many different things like that blow my mind that I'm like, how do I not like it? No, like I know for a fact, you know what I mean? Like,
Pikachu has black ear tips. There's no black in the tail, but that's it. That is a thing. There is like a sort of a shade at the start. It also didn't help. I think Pichu, the baby form that came out a couple years later with Gold and Silver, I believe does have a purely black tail, if I'm remembering right.
Huh.
And so that's probably
this is what you learned
contributing
playing
to that.
Pokemon Go in Lexington Cemetery.
Right. Thanks a lot, Jim Barney.
I got you 4 basic food groups: beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard.
Oh my god.
I mean, just those little things like that you come across that, people say happen or like we know like amongst pop culture is a thing. And then you come to find out like that's not really it. That's where I'm like, man, I can't trust my brain apparently. So yeah.
I do the thing where you forget things in a room all the time. Oh, another one that happens to me frequently involves these things right here on my face that help me see.
You don't know where your glasses are and they're on your head?
Yes. Like, I've literally walked around I've done it with my headphones, too. Not these, but my Bluetooth. I've walked around the whole house looking for my headphones with them in my fucking ears.
I was going to say, I can see Josh now. So he's spent an hour, like, tearing up cushions in the couch, yelling at his son for, like, moving his glasses. And he's like, I don't know where they are. God. Whoa. And then they're, like, right there on his face after he touches his face. Sorry, I just did too much with my headphones there, but that's all right.
And I blame
you
Brain.
should have tucked him into your hat. Like, Josh has got this weirdo toboggan.
Bro, it's given the mega helmet head from Spaceballs or whatever.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I have it's a really small thing, but very specific, and it really, really disturbed me. But just to give you a little backstory and context, after, COVID and I had to return to work and I was promoted all at the same time. And, I work in healthcare communications and COVID was so stressful. Just every day, it was like this endless onslaught of media requests and trying to message and listening to the updates about how terrible everything was. And it just wore on me so much. And I mean, I also turned 40 during COVID. So whether it's like I'm perimenopausal, I'm super stressed out, I've been promoted, the world's insane, and I would be forgetting things like the instant you could tell me something, I would turn my head and I would have instantly forgotten it. But a lot of my colleagues were kind of all in the same boat. We're all stressed out and we're all joking about how we're developing dementia and whatnot. But specifically, I'm on various medications, one being birth control, and you get your 90-day supply. And I have this distinct memory of opening my package and there's only 2 boxes instead of 3. And I'm like, what the God? And we have to call the pharmacy and just, I remember like being mad and thinking about calling the pharmacy and like putting a note in my phone and this and that. So the next time I was there, I was like, hey, you only gave me 60 days and not 90 days. And they were like, no, we didn't. And I sat there and argued. And she was like, I don't know what to tell you, but I can't do
You were the
anything
old
about
man
it.
in that class that came in that one day when you were like, this is a private class, sir.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
you.
And I went home and I was like, I'm going to find the receipt and prove it and find these boxes. And there were 3 boxes. And I literally stopped and I was like, I need help. Like, is this how it starts?
Did you go back and apologize?
I mean, there's different people working at the bar.
Okay.
So no, I didn't. I know. I was like,
right.
God, I should go apologize to whoever that was. But yeah,
That's funny.
It's such a small thing, but it was so disturbing to like have this memory that was completely false.
So that story reminds me of a story about my mother that I feel like I need to tell. It's like one of my favorite stories that I ever have told about my mom. It's like the moment that I realized my mother was losing her mind and probably like borderline going through dementia, which she never had. But she had a lot of like, medical problems. It was on a lot of medications. So I think it did affect like her thinking process somewhat. And I was probably 17 or 18 and my mother was taking classes for billing and coding, college. She was doing that course and thought that that's what she was going to do. And, so, I'm at home alone, like just hanging out and, my mom calls me and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just hanging out at the house. What's up?" And she was like, "Go out to my car and grab my books out of the trunk." And I was like, "All right." So, I look out the window and her car is not there. And, I was like, "Mom, your car is not here." "What do you mean my car is not there?" It better be." I said, "Well, it's not here. It's not in the driveway." "Are you serious?" "Daniel, stop messing with me." And I'm like, "No, Mom, there's no car in the driveway." And like, you can just hear her like freaking out without saying anything on the other side of the phone. I said, "Mom, where are you?" "Oh, that's right. I drove to the grocery store." Yes.
I used it to get here.
Yeah, so I immediately hung up the phone and I called my sister and my brother and I was like, "It is time to commit her." Like, this is what my mother just did to me.
Oh my God.
It's one of my favorite stories about her, though. I'm glad that I can still laugh about it today.
That's amazing. All right, so this question ties into the movie we're doing this week, which is A Beautiful Mind.
I don't exactly know what I'm required to say in order for you to have intercourse with me, but could we assume that I've said all that? I mean, essentially we're talking about fluid exchange, right? So could we just go straight to the sex?
Oh, that was sweet.
And we are discussing it because it won Best
We
Picture.
have to.
Somehow, in the year of our Lord, 2002, at the 2002 ceremony. All right, let's go through a little background here. So, A Beautiful Mind, 2001 biopic. My whole life I've said biopic and only recently learned that I was wrong. So I'm retraining myself how to say it correctly.
I'll defend you on that, though, because I do think biography does kind of... That's why a lot of people... And I do hear it a lot. You're not the only person that in my course of the last several years that I've heard say it. So
yeah, I've heard it said that way multiple times, and it's always I never try to correct anybody, but it always like eats at me under my skin where I'm like, it is biopic, like it's a bio, like biography for short is bio, and it's a picture. So biopic has never been a thing for me. It's like nails on a chalkboard, but I understand why you think that way. But I'm so glad you come to the bright side.
I will do my best not to grate on your nerves through this episode. Okay, so biopic on famed mathematician John Nash, who won the 1994 Nobel Prize for an economic theory and also struggled with schizophrenia for decades. The movie's source material is a 1998 biography on Nash, which was written by journalist Sylvia Nasar. I'll say Nasser. Directed by Ron Howard, the movie stars Russell Crowe as Nash, Jennifer Connelly as his endlessly suffering wife, Alicia, Ed Harris as the hallucinatory Department of Defense contact, William Parcher, and our boy Paul Bettany as his not real roommate, Charles Herman. So this movie was well received at the time. It's got a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, 93% audience score. I Roger Ebert gave it kind of a glowing review. It was nominated for a whole bunch of Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Director, Actor, Supporting Actress, Adapted Screenplay, Film Editing, Makeup, Original Score, and it won 4 of them. Best Picture, Director, Supporting Actress, and Adapted Screenplay.
So this movie won as many Academy Awards as Sinners, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Good to know.
Go to sleep. What was Makeup was aside from Best Picture, Makeup's the one that stands out a little weird to me. Like maybe it's
because
just they make them look
old age makeup. But again, Moulin Rouge, Fellowship of the Ring.
What
I
won
can't
for
remember
makeup
what else
that
was
year?
nominated.
Harry Potter, maybe?
Best makeup went to Lord of the Rings won, and it was A Beautiful Mind, and Moulin Rouge were the only 3 nominated that year.
Wow. Okay.
You
They
tell me
only
it
had
couldn't
3 nominations. Okay.
You couldn't tell me it just couldn't have been Lord of the Rings and Moulin Rouge? Because there were there's at least one other category. It was just 2 Black Down beat Monsters Inc. Harbor beat Monsters Inc.
I would have thought the whatever they call them, the gnomes or whatever, like at Gringotts Bank.
Yeah,
like the characters.
Yeah. Why wouldn't Harry Potter go for best makeup? At least put itself in the race,
But anyway, so it was nominated for a lot of stuff that I don't think it deserved, and it won a lot of stuff that I don't think it deserved. But before we get further into that, let's go through some fun facts about this movie. So,
fun?
Liberal use of the word fun.
Fun? It's okay.
So Ron Howard, who I think is fine. I've liked some of his stuff. I think he's a very competent director, but I honestly think that's what you can say about him,
Oh, I disagree. I think he's a very, very good actor. Director. I love a lot of the stuff he does.
I think Apollo 13 is fantastic.
I think that's the peak. In the Heart of the Sea, the Moby Dick movie he did with Christopher Hemsworth and Tom Holland.
I haven't seen that one.
It is amazing.
Want to see that one.
It is a great film.
But when for him, I'm not going to get into the Oscars yet. We got to get through the facts.
I'm sorry. I don't mean
ranting about this movie. But anyway, Ron Howard, it must have been very intrigued by schizophrenia because this is actually the second movie biopic on the topic that he had planned to direct. The first was on a man named Michael Lauder, who managed to attend and graduate from Yale Law School despite suffering from the disease. However, Lauder stabbed his pregnant fiancée to death during a psychotic episode in 1998, so the movie plans were scrapped. However, the screenwriter, Chris Girolamo, I think that's how you say it, he persisted, trying to convince Howard to direct the movie and include the murder as part of it, but Ron Howard thankfully was like, yeah, hard pass. Thus, John Nash's life story was deemed more palatable for mass audiences, so plans for that went forward. Now, in the movie, Nash sees, hears, interacts with people who aren't actually there. In real life, his hallucinations were auditory. He heard voices. He didn't see people. But Lauder did have visual hallucinations, apparently very similar to what they portrayed for Nash. So it really seems like they had this idea, we can frame a movie around this so we can have this big twist that these people don't exist, halfway through for the character. And that they just applied this to John Nash because they liked the idea. I think that's probably what happened. And visually speaking, yes, this will be more interesting. And Akiva Goldsman, who is the screenwriter for A Beautiful Mind, who has such an interesting career, as Josh pointed out, having written both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin before this.
Oh yeah, his filmography is something else, y'all. Go.
It is all over the place.
It is something.
Hey, don't you hate on my King Val Kilmer as Batman, okay?
Which Transformers movie is The Last Night? Is it the 4th or the 5th one? Because he was involved with that one.
It's the 5th one. That one starts with Merlin and King Arthur and all that.
I didn't see it,
Jesus
so
Christ.
I stopped at some point. But his career is something else.
Yeah, but Goldsman has been accused of basically sort of plagiarizing, being too influenced by that original script for the Lauder movie, which was written by Chris Guillermo. So one of John Nash's delusions was that he thought he was next in line to become the Emperor of Antarctica. And I guess was sending letters to an embassy in Washington, D.C. and would sign that with his signature, like John Nash, Emperor of Antarctica.
Or did he put future Emperor of Antarctica? Next Emperor?
Next in line.
Princess Diaries
in
Emperor?
waiting.
Emperor in waiting. I don't know. Okay. So this movie has like 50 time jumps because we're just like bam, 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 getting to like each little plot point.
Oh, that's every good biopic, right? Like,
we'll see. During the 1994 section of the movie, the script has Nash kind of casually mentioning, just like offhand, that he's taking the newer medications, which wasn't actually true. So Nash stopped taking them in 1970 and essentially says that he just used logic to overcome his schizophrenia. Here's some quotes from the real Nash in 1994. Gradually, I began to intellectually reject some of the delusionally influenced lines of thinking which had been characteristic of my orientation. This began, most recognizably, with the rejection of politically oriented thinking as essentially a hopeless waste of intellectual effort. So at the present time, I seem to be thinking rationally again in the style that is characteristic of scientists. Okay. However, Ron Howard and Akiva Goldsman added that line in because they didn't want it to come across as encouraging people with schizophrenia to stop taking their medications, even though I think this movie does kind of come across that way.
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. One of my things watching the movie is like when he's like, yeah, I just ignore them. And I'm like, well, oh, great. If it was just that easy, we could cure schizophrenia.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a really good friend who has a family member with schizophrenia and seeing the cycle of getting on medication, getting it together, but then either being told you don't need it or thinking, well, I feel great now, I don't need it anymore. There's been different reasons that this person has stopped and then just falling back down into a rabbit hole. And it's so sad. And I understand they were trying to offset that a little bit, but it just bugged me in this movie, even though, okay, sure, that's how it really happened. But we changed a whole bunch of shit about his life story. So
yeah, I know we'll talk a lot about that, but that's one of the things that is a big red flag is you're really interested in telling this story, but you're against showcasing something negative that is a kind of a key part of how this guy handled it, for better or worse, you know.
Yeah. Going back to that quote, like when I read that, I literally read it in the like cadence and manner that like Russell Crowe would read it in, like the mumbling and bumbling and like the fast and the pausing and the like.
You mean your boy?
Yeah, my boy.
And so I said this in a text to you all, but I think it's a very Forrest Gumpian type performance. Nash is from West Virginia, so he's trying to do this like country bumpkin type of accent. And some of the things he says are even like Forrest Gump, but it's, Forrest Gump is not intelligent, so he's just saying things without realizing it. And Nash is, I guess, just so intelligent that he doesn't realize or care what he's saying comes across.
Yeah, it's odd in the sense that like I didn't see it as Gumpian until you said it, and then I'm like, all right, yeah, I can see that, right? But I definitely read him as autistic because he's like scratching his head and has these like tics, and he definitely feels very extremely autistic. And then like 30, 45 minutes in the movie, he's like, all right, autism's cured. I'm just a normal person now. Like he's not doing the autistic things. And like, again, when he gets agitated at the chess game and was like, I played it perfectly, there's no way I should have lost, it felt very autistic, but like, and like an autistic response to like something not being right. but like, yeah, it's weird. Like then later in the movie, it's like he dials it down and it goes away for most of the film, and then it kind of comes back in certain spurts. It's an odd choice.
Well, and that's what, because I read it that way too. Like I was like because I didn't know a whole lot about this guy before watching the movie, even though I'd seen this movie a long time ago, and just didn't talk about trusting your brain. I don't remember anything. I barely remember anything from this movie after, when I was watching this time. And I was surprised at how autistic the actions, like that's how it seemed to be portrayed. And then I was reading this guy wasn't even autistic. Like there's no, there's a lot of people that said he had, maybe he was undiagnosed, but he had traits maybe that were, could have been interpreted that way later on in life. But because obviously diagnosis of that
in the 50s
more prevalent.
Tough,
yeah. But it's odd. I don't know. It just seems like to go that hard in it and then not even really acknowledge it in any way is kind of strange.
It is. Quick question before we carry on. Because I think I'm going to say yes. I don't know. Allison, maybe not. You would have been in college at the time. But my question was, the first time that we all saw this movie, was it in a classroom? Because for me it was. Josh, I'm assuming the first time you saw it was in a classroom as well.
It was either 6th or 7th grade. Home economics is where I watched this class. Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah. We watched it in social studies.
Yeah, it's wild. Home economics.
Curriculum, baby. Curriculum.
So I'm going to get into that later when we do our bonus feature, but about using something like this as educational material, it bothers me. I saw this movie in the theater. And
you paid to watch it.
I did.
Did you enjoy it when you first watched it? Like back
I did.
Then
So I remember going to see it and then walking out and being like, "Oh, that was a good movie." And I remember also thinking, I should get my mom to go see this movie. My mom was a longtime math teacher, math professor, whatever. And anytime there's a movie featuring a mathematician, she's kind of interested. And also, this movie has such strong boomer energy. This is exactly the type of movie she would like. Yeah. And I've seen A Beautiful Mind since then at home. And the second time I watched it, I was like, this isn't as good as I remember. And then watching it for this podcast, I watched it twice in the past week or so. And I was like, why the fuck did this win Best Picture? And
do you think you would hate this movie as much if it didn't win Best Picture? Like, is that part of the disdain?
I think that is it is. It's hard to separate that from watching it. I think so.
And you heard me in previous episodes describe this as the most Milquetoast.
Yeah,
best.
You said it's mayonnaise on white bread. That's what you called it last week's episode.
But yeah, I don't think it has any teeth. It's everything has been sanded down, and yes, he's flawed in certain ways, but we're going to show just a few of the flaws that, you can tell he's not perfect and he's stuff. I don't know.
It absolutely
I got to keep going.
It absolutely feels like
we got plenty of time to dive into this part.
Sorry, I'm getting off sidetracked. I'm just.
This is just a random thing I read that I was like, oh my Lord, the 50s. And this is what we want to go back to, right? Make America great again.
Yeah, MAGA.
So,
right.
Nash's illness first manifested during his wife's pregnancy. And this is the late 1950s. And his psychiatrists thought that her pregnancy was part of the problem and theorized that it might be fetus envy, which is the counterpart to the Freud theory of penis envy. And they just thought, it'll improve. He'll get better after the baby's born. Like, of course, they're going to blame the woman for his mental illness. Oh, the 50s. What a great time. So speaking of Alicia, this movie really, really sands down the nuance of their relationship. So in real life, they divorced in 1963, did eventually remarry in 2001. So the film does present their marriage as troubled due to the consequences of Nash being ill. He almost drowns their baby. That's a big red flag.
Does that actually happen in real life?
I don't know. I don't remember reading about that scene in particular. The medication making him impotent was real from what I read. But it leaves out some pretty significant issues. including allegations of homosexual relationships. They were described as intense relationships with other men, but apparently he was kind of caught in a sting, where police were trying to catch people in doing like meetups with other men, and he was caught. And I don't remember how exactly he talked his way out of it, but he basically has always denied any of that. But here's this is taken directly from his biography, written by Sylvia Nassar. So according to her, Nash, quote, wished to show everyone that he was the master of this gorgeous young woman and that she was his slave. He did this by throwing her to the ground during a mathematics department picnic and placing his foot on her neck. What the actual fuck?
The 50s.
The 50s, man.
40s, whatever this year this happened.
And
I have a problem with their relationship to begin with, but we'll get to that.
Their relationship is dog shit. Yeah, we'll get into
that. Yeah.
So the other really crazy thing that the movie leaves out, which I mean, I understand why they left it out because it doesn't fit into this narrative they've created. But Nash had a brief relationship with a nurse named Eleanor Steer in the early 1950s. I guess he had been to the hospital for some unrelated, physical ailment. She treated him.
And then he fucked her.
They, got her pregnant, abandoned her and the son, never provided any help financially or emotionally. So, and she was a single mom, nurse, not making a lot of money, struggling to get by. So their son, who she named John Steer, at times had to live in foster homes while she was just working the night shift, working her ass off to try to do the best to provide for him. And I found her obituary. Here's a few quotes from it. When her son was young, Miss Steer often worked the night shift while he stayed with babysitters. He said, she was poor, she added, and he had to live in foster homes for brief periods in his early childhood. We weren't wealthy people or anything like that, said John, who, like his mother, became a registered nurse. She always made sure I was well fed and clothed. I think she tried to forgive most of the time, but I think there was some hurt and disappointment still there. And that quote is from John's fiance. So he's abandoned this family, out living the sweet life at Princeton with his hot new wife, while his other son is literally being shipped from home to home, struggling to survive.
This won't make as much sense to the listeners because this episode is being recorded in a way that it is being plugged in earlier in the schedule than when it's actually being recorded. But we are on quite a run of talking about pieces of shit, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 4 in a row where we just got real.
I mean, one of the episodes was a daily double.
Oh man.
People. So yeah. Let's hear some initial thoughts from you guys on this movie.
So what you said, Slade, I think it's really hard for me to separate that this won Best Picture from my evaluation of it, because I think if we were for some reason covering this movie, had it not won Best Picture, like say it was a top 10 grossers, it was 11th. I believe it would have actually maybe it came close to qualifying.
Yeah.
I believe it was 11th or 12th in the box office for this year. My feelings about it would be differently, so I'm really trying to separate it from that. I just think Milquetoast is the perfect description for this thing. It is not offensive, really. I mean, there's probably things about how someone who's schizophrenic is being portrayed that I just don't know, don't understand. Like, I grant that maybe that could be a thing that is offensive about it. But it's just so paint by numbers for this kind of movie, and it doesn't do anything transformative in terms of telling a story like this. Even though I don't know, I want to go back, even step back to the point of why are we even doing a movie about this guy? Like,
because he won a Nobel Prize.
He won a Nobel Prize, so I guess he's, the Nash theory, like there's things like But is he really that interesting? Like, that's what I'm kind of coming back to is, how did it get assessed that this was an interesting person to even do a movie about? And seeing the thing from the other guy that this, Howard was interested in doing a movie about another guy makes me wonder if maybe that guy was way more interesting, and obviously the tragic situation there that he commits murder throws that off the rails, and like that this is in some ways just a movie about that guy with Nash's life plugged into it instead.
I think there's definitely an element of that. The fact that these visual hallucinations existed for Michael Lauder, and this was part of the screenplay, and then, whoopsie-doo, he murdered somebody, that falls through. And you're like, but this is such a great idea to trick the audience into thinking these people are real. Who's another schizophrenic? Hey, what about this John Nash guy? He's kind of famous. It just kind of comes across that way.
And I will say, I do think it's effective if you went into this not knowing what the subject is and what, if you just went in completely cold, didn't read anything about it. I do think it's effective. And even at knowing that it was coming, it was effective. Because I, again, had forgotten that, like, his roommate isn't real. So that was kind of, and that made me sad. Like, I was like legit, like, I was like sad about that. Mostly because I think Paul Bettany's doing the best performance in this entire movie.
I mean, he's really just being Chaucer again.
Yeah.
Which
is great
in A Knight's Tale. So
yeah, he's a breath of fresh air in the movie for sure. Going to what you guys were saying about the film and why it was made and everything else, I tend to believe that one, schizophrenia was something that hadn't really been discussed or approached yet by Hollywood. So it's like a new challenge, and I think that's why Ron Howard was like going over these things. Two, films like this that deal with sensitive subject matters such as schizophrenia and troubled people, biopics, things like that, tend to get Oscar nominations. Mm-hmm. And this
troubled genius.
Yes. Yeah. This is like, let's make a movie that's going to win Oscars. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is a complete Oscar propaganda grab. Like, that's what this movie was made for. So they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish with it, in the sense that, like, I'm sure that, like, when they gave Russell Crowe the script, they're like, you will get nominated for Best Actor in this film. And he was like, done deal. You know what I mean? Like, so, but speaking of the movie itself, I actually have more problems with the movie based on, like, the true life stuff and the, like, background information that you provided in these notes, and I was not aware of, Allison, until I read the notes. That's where the movie becomes really problematic for me. I think the movie is effective. I think it's well done. Obviously, like, the liberties that it takes are problematic, and there are definitely some issues with the film itself. But I think that, like, for me, unlike you guys, I'm able to separate it from being the best picture. Is it a complete travesty and crime that it won Best Picture? Absolutely. But it doesn't make me hate the movie because it won Best Picture. Like, it makes me hate the Academy, because this is like, it's like you're dangling, chum over a shark. Like, they're going to take it every time. Like, this is exactly what the Academy eats up, especially at this time.
So something Allison said earlier about it being a very boomer-coded movie also makes me think even more like, yeah, this really was at that time like the ideal Oscar movie.
Baby. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world, like. So, I mean, everybody who probably saw that script was like, oh, that's going to win Oscars. Let me throw some money at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that. So, but speaking of, like, Milquetoast and average and everything else, again, I've said this multiple times on and off the record, that there's never been a single role that Russell Crowe has ever done, literally ever, that I have said, Nobody could do that role better. Everything he does is just average, piss poor, or fine. Like, there is no great Russell Crowe performance. Even Gladiator is a great movie. I'm not like, oh my God, he's the only person that could ever play Maximus. Like, you watch other actors in other films, even actors that I don't like Christian Bale, I don't love him. I think he's a talented actor, but there's a lot of shit that he does that I don't like. Same thing with Jake Gyllenhaal. I think they're douchebags, and I don't really care for them, but I can also tell you in certain movies, they killed that role, and nobody else could have done that better than them. While other performances of theirs may not be great, and those movies may suck, and some of their movies are fantastic. Russell Crowe is just, man, he's literally, I think the words that should go on his headstone is the phrase that Josh misquoted, but it is perfect when he said, aggressively average.
Do you, I'm just on Crowe for a second, because I'd forgotten until I just looked it up that he'd won for Gladiator Best Actor. He was nominated in 2000, 2001, and 2002 for Beautiful Mind was the last one, and The Insider was his other nomination the year before Gladiator. So he was nominated 3 years in a row for Best Actor, and hasn't been touched since.
He gets nominated for Best Supporting in American Gangster, doesn't he?
Not according to what I'm reading.
He never got nominated for Best Supporting?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just best, those 3 Best Actor noms are his only, which I think is interesting and maybe speaks a little to what you're saying in some ways of him being this guy that, yeah, he's fine, but he's the Ron Howard of actors. Like,
I think Ron Howard's really talented. Like, I think he's like, he did a movie with Chris Hemsworth called Drive. It's like a Formula One movie.
That was the other one I really liked. I think Drive is really good.
Drive is fantastic. In the Heart of the Sea is amazing. Say what you want about it, but his vision for how the Grinch stole Christmas is top notch. Top notch. Oh my God. You don't watch any kids' movies, Allison. Go to hell.
I did see that one.
Hey, I do love How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I did not enjoy it.
I'll stand for How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
He did a great job of turning.
That is a very divisive movie. I've learned that over there's a generational divide thing for that movie.
It's fantastic.
I love it. It's my favorite Grinch.
But going back to the review, one other thing, obviously Paul Bettany's great in it. Christopher Plummer, love him. And then I'm a sucker for Ed Harris, especially anytime he's playing a military or government agent. Give me all of that for Ed Harris. But lastly, it's funny that we talk about Russell Crowe and how my disdain for him is that he's just an average actor and just never really does anything polarizing or great or thing for me. I've always felt the same way about Jennifer Connelly. I've always been like, why do people love her? Why is she like this thing? This was the first time watching this movie, because I watched it in high school and I barely remembered it. I didn't give a shit about it. And then, I watched it for this podcast and I was like, I actually really like Jennifer Connelly in this movie. Do I think she's the best actress? Probably not. Definitely not.
You think she deserved the Best Supporting Actress?
I'm not saying that, but I am saying that this movie actually made me, she had some charm to her. I appreciated her performance, and I think that this role had more depth to it than the majority of the roles that she's able to pull off. So I was like, all right, I can see why some people like her if they fell in love with her in this movie. I didn't fall in love with her. I thought that
Paul Bettany did.
Oh. They're
married. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Well, something good came out of this.
So, but I mean, and she actually is I think a lot more attractive in this movie than any other movie I've seen her in. I don't know what it is, but there's something about her that she looks really pretty in this film compared to other movies to me where I'm just yeah, she's all right. So, that's the one thing that surprised me that I took away from this movie is all right, I kind of have a different, newfound respect for Jennifer Connelly that I didn't have before. But when we talk about their relationship, Jesus Christ, because I've got problems.
See, I'm going to agree that I've never really liked much of. I mean, I liked Requiem for a Dream. I think it's a good. It's one of those movies I never want to watch again because it's just so awful. But I've also never really seen what a lot of other people see. But I disagree about this movie, and I don't think she's giving a bad performance. I just think it's a nothing role. She's there to suffer and to support him. And I don't think she's given anything really interesting to do.
I disagree in this role, like in this film for her. I think that she obviously is like, essentially she's grieving a dead husband that's still alive. Like she lost the man that she fell in love with. And he like trying to still support him through that. And maybe it's because like I can relate to holding on to something in a relationship, trying to help somebody that's lost something, like get back to being the person that they were or that they should be, like they're not, it's just not responding anymore. You know what I mean? And so like, I don't know, like for me, I really thought that she added a lot of depth to the movie because like you see her struggling and trying to find ways to help him. And like, obviously you have the good and the bad with like the whole schizophrenia thing. And like, obviously they take a lot of liberties with some of the decisions that she makes in the movie versus like what happened in real life, you know, cause like part of me is like, damn, dude, to like go through all that shit and like stay married to him that whole time and not have him recommitted and like just risk every day of your life and your child's life living with a schizophrenic man that has shoved you out of the way, almost drowned your baby, and like be that supportive is like an unconditional love and a bond that like feels like could never be broken or touched. And when you find out later, like in the notes, well, actually they were divorced and got remarried 48 years later. It's like, oh, okay. Well, there goes that. So
he apparently, after they were divorced at some point, kind of returned basically to live with her, and she took care of him when they weren't married. And then I guess they totally rekindled the whole thing.
But see, like that's something that you don't have to make that a lie in the movie. You could just do that and people would still find a way to be like, well, like if it's true love, it's true love, right? You know, like, or whatever. And like, it's just, I don't know. I hate that like it felt like it needed to be manipulated for this movie.
I will say, I don't know. And I'm coming to this with my perspective. I realize this, but I don't feel like the movie really shows me why she is so hot for him. It's so rushed to get her. I don't know. It's like his big veiny brain, I guess, is attractive.
Now that we're here, I can finally say my main problems with all of this with her and her character and their entire relationship. She's his fucking student.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this
was the 40s.
This was
the 50s.
The 50s, so I'm sure that was totally normal.
She's also, 18, 19.
She seemed to be the only woman in the classroom, and it's interesting that that just doesn't seem to really go commented on in any form or fashion.
And she's like aggressively approaching him. So like, which obviously doesn't go in like coincide with, oh, he's putting his foot on her neck in front of everybody to show that she's his slave. That she's the strong one in this relationship in the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's so like if she was his student and he's doing that as an example in front of people, it feels like in the movie, it feels like she's aggressive and like a powerful woman that's going after what she wants, which is odd because like you don't really see, they don't really ever reach that why she's attracted to him. But like, it feels like in real life, it feels like he has all the power and it's basically like, if you want a good grade, you're going to go on a date with me.
It is interesting.
I'm sure it was probably kind of intentionally done that way so that he wouldn't come across as a predator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do, I think, effectively position her as the lead in this relationship.
Yeah.
In an odd way, even though like clearly... But it speaks to just like the milk toastiness of it is like, yeah, that's this thing that would never actually be happening in the 50s. Or if it had been happening, would have been a really interesting dynamic in their real life relationship, but that clearly wasn't probably the case. Didn't even touch on the fact that this woman that she's Jennifer Connelly's portraying is actually Salvadorian or part Salvadorian. That's the other thing that just kind of gets whitewashed out of the movie, literally. Of the sins committed, it's probably a lesser one, but it's still up there. But I don't know. I think that would have been an interesting thing to try to work into the movie, though, in terms of like if they were going for that dynamic. Also, her being like her family immigrated from Salvador and had that dynamic. I think she's from Mississippi or something in real life, and so it could have been a cool thing also to try to touch on like the different dynamics that created. But I mean, again, they can't like. It's like I'm not even mad about the film's politics or anything like that. It's just more what they try to do with how they change things is just kind of like you could have done more.
Yeah.
So one of the reviews I read, it was just a newspaper. I think it was like a Tucson newspaper, like back in the day when movie critics, existed at smaller papers. And he was in his review, he said, I read the biography, A Beautiful Mind. And when I heard they were making a movie, I thought, how in the world are they going to make this guy
likable,
likable? Because he was like, this guy is such a huge piece of shit. And then he was like, oh, and then I saw the movie, and they're like, oh, this isn't the same man in the biography. This is the cuddly, troubled genius version. And I was like, if this is the good version, because I still think he's pretty much a piece of shit in this movie. I was like, I can't imagine how he comes across in the biography. But apparently the biographer, Sylvia Nassar, considers him a good friend. So,
well, that's another thing I was reading about the biography is there's also like controversy around the biography too, like how it was.
He fucked her too?
Like how.
Sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Like I guess how it was written, some of the sourcing is considered.
She got some of her sources from Charles.
Yeah.
There's like she has some quote in an interview where she pushes back against people who say that he was basically a deadbeat dad, and I'm like, he's the definition. He abandoned.
But he told me he did.
Totally abandoned the son.
Right. Yeah, man. Like. I mean, it's the biggest problem I have with the movie is everything on the outside of the movie. The movie itself is fine. I think it does some things really well. Like the big reveal, if you'd never realized it for the first time, like makes you feel like you're also schizophrenic in a sense. Like you feel like you just lost all these people that you're like, you know what I mean? So, because it's like, if you didn't know it was a movie about schizophrenia, you go into it and you're like, oh, this is about a mathematician that's like in espionage and like, Cold War, and like, oh, this is cool.
I mean, I think he does do a good job of setting up the audience to believe that this could happen because they go, when they first go to starting the movie now, they go to Princeton, and this professor is telling them basically like, you're the next generation of mathematical geniuses, and we are the people who created
the atom bomb,
broke code, code breakers, and did all this to help our country. And
they mentioned Oppenheimer, which was
we're the
fun.
shit.
So they kind of set up that mathematicians were involved in some of these kind of clandestine endeavors, I guess we could say, so that you don't find it completely unbelievable when Ed Harris shows up with a special mission.
It's funny. I remember, like, obviously I knew what this movie was about when I watched it this time. But I didn't remember, like, who was real, who wasn't real, and all of this stuff. And I was like, I think the roommate's fake. But for some reason, I still believed Ed Harris was real. And so then I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, nah, the roommate's definitely fake. But like when he's like telling her, like, when he's telling her while he's in the lunchroom or whatever, when they're having their meeting and he's in the nut house and he's like, trying to explain to her like a secret agent, all this stuff. But like, I'm like kind of like leaning team him. Like they're trying to like, basically whitewash you away from history and pass you off as this crazy person. Like, I think it's probably the cynicism of how I feel about today's political environment that makes me think that, where I could totally see like the defamation of character completely ruining this person's life all because of one decision that they decided to make that went against what their political handlers were making them do. And so like, I don't know, it felt more believable that would be the case than whatever. And obviously like that's how it plays out is how it plays out. And they do a really good job with that and the multiple reveals and everything else. And the sequence when she finds the shed is probably the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's why she ends up getting nominated in this movie is a lot of that stuff, like how she reacts to the things that, like when she's discovering things that have been screwed up or that have been created because of his pursuit of this. And that scene you mentioned when they're in the place where he's being held to, because of the, I guess, hospital or whatever it is, and he is trying to convince her, like, get me out of here, like the way she reacts there and the intensity that she does that with. I think, I've not seen every performance, but I think, those are the things that probably gets her the nomination, whether she deserves it or not, I don't know. But also, I do think, even like with the Ed Harris part of this, the hallucinations, am I remembering right, talking about things our brains playing tricks on us, am I remembering right the scene, he goes to Washington and he has this rendezvous with somebody, but like, is it Ed Harris who's in the like rafters?
Yes, Ed Harris is big brother.
So they even do a good job, I think, of like that probably really happened. He probably really did go to Washington and have this conversation. And it kind of went how it did, where it's like, okay, we used you real quick and then we're done. And then, and like in his mind, starts doing the things it's doing, and it's like we need to be doing more, and so it's like building up this character in his brain. And I think it does, it is well done. And that's a credit to, it is a credit to Howard to pull that off,
So just to kind of, I'm not going to go through all the scenes so intently like I usually do because I just don't want to. This movie, frankly.
That's a first. Damn.
But, so essentially the movie starts, he arrives at Princeton, we learn he's a mathematician, we hear from the professor, you're all geniuses and math geniuses helped save the world.
Okay, that was thank you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I will forget it again. That was my first thing that I was getting ready to say. Do any of us know what the fuck he's trying to do the whole first 40 minutes of this movie while he's at Princeton? He's just writing shit on the like mirrors, and I'm like, I don't understand what his theory is, what he's trying to do.
Attempting to come up with some novel idea or theory that hasn't yet been discovered that he can basically publish on.
I get that, but like he's not even explaining it. He's just drawing numbers. And we're just like, yeah, man, well, whatever.
I just I will say I struggled with that too when I was watching this, and that was part of like my going back to what I said about like why are we even making a movie about this guy? Like this is really hard to convey like what is interesting about why this guy was even important.
They don't care to explain anything about that paper, and that's like what he's known for. He wins a Nobel Prize for this, and we don't know jack shit about it the entire movie. It's just numbers on a window.
Because they have simplified the concept. So, right, he's at Princeton. There's a bunch of smart math bros. He doesn't get along with them because he's weird and says lots of awkward things. But when they go to the bar and he's like, hey guys, we should, if we want to succeed, if we want to all get laid, everyone's looking at this hot blonde. We can't go for her. We got to go for the brunettes.
But then he leaves the bar, and they all do that. And he says,
he's realized that I wrote down sort of the way I understood what this theory is supposed to mean.
Okay, even then, that's a great theory, and it sounds more like something Socrates would have said, like differently, obviously. But like, where does that come with mathematician? How does that become economics.
Well, it's about it's kind of like a it's like kind of ties into supply and demand, I guess, a little bit.
But my point is, it's a theory. Like, what do the theory, numbers? How do you create the numbers to generate that? I don't understand.
The theory of non-cooperative games, which, as I understand it, is more or less people making decisions dependent on the actions of others and figuring out how they can maximize their own advantage. Which, if you are thinking of in terms of like a product. I guess when you bring in the monetary value of products and, like Josh said, supply and demand and how much money you could make. If this person does this, I'll do this. And maybe that's where the equations and stuff come in.
I understand.
But I mean, I'll agree that like seeing these scribblings, I mean,
like, I understand that. My point is like, that seems like a theory that you would test with a test group. And like, it's almost more of a, sociology study than a mathematician study. In a sense,
I mean, that's sort of how that is how they sort of present it. They do present it more sociologically.
I really think that they realized that they couldn't explain it mathematically, so they decided to show it visually as more of a sociology theory to make people sort of get
something they could understand, like something
I'll give up on the math. I'm sorry.
I honestly, I tried to read more about it to really understand it.
It's confusing.
And I was like,
I tried to read a ton about like what he did, just on Wikipedia, nothing like deep. I was like, my eyes were glossing over just even trying to read about his stuff, like why he was important.
It's as if Russell Crowe wrote it.
So, we can't forget the scene where, you know, we understand he's super, super awkward. He tries to go up to a very attractive girl.
Oh, good. And it's pretty good.
Just flat out offers to invite her for a fluid exchange.
You know what?
So
some
romantic.
Some women would appreciate the
transparency.
Yeah, the transparency.
This is the 1950s.
Okay, he put his neck on his girlfriend's future wife. Put his foot on her neck. Like, he can get away with saying, you know what? You're at a bar. I'm at a bar. You have a vagina. I have a penis. We both know what we're here for.
Let's put them together and see what happens.
Let's see if I can make a third baby.
Which is why when Alicia comes onto him so strongly, and then when they're having the picnic and he's like, we'll be honest, I'm just sitting here thinking about how much I want to have sex with you. And she finds it charming.
Yeah.
And kisses him. I'm like, cool. Okay.
Do we think that's how that really went down too?
I don't know.
He started choking her. Right?
He said, how bad do you want that A?
So we should mention while Nash is, you know, running around determined to be, he's so determined to come up with this original theory and become, you know, his generation's genius, because he's got this scholarship and he wants to be placed in like kind of a high profile lab, and he's skipping class because he doesn't have time for such nonsense. But as it turns out, professors are not impressed when you just skip class to fuck off and do your own thing. And we witness, one of them kind of takes him to the tea room or whatever, and we witness this bizarro pen ceremony.
So weird.
Which when I up until this watch, I assumed this was a real ceremony because it is so specific.
Yeah, I just figured it was like a Princeton thing.
So
or is
as
it Harvard?
I'm doing my
Princeton,
notes,
right?
I'm like, I wonder where this came from, and Googling it, and Princeton, it's gone. It's not up right now, but you can look in the Wayback Machine. Princeton had a whole page on their site that's like, this is not a real thing. It was made up for the movie. Stop asking us. It's
everybody on their campus tour is like, where's the pin room? We don't do that.
It's so weird.
It's so weird and so specific.
And I don't think it adds anything to the movie when it happens the first time or later when he gets to receive
no,
it.
It definitely adds
there,
at the end.
It's just there the first time so they can say like, ooh, this is a special ceremony where all these colleagues are like showing respect to this man who's made a great contribution. I mean, it's It's just
I think
the
it's
setup for
stupid.
later.
I think it's stupid. I think it's bad both times. I think it just is completely, and because of what it is, I get the intent behind it, but it just seems so ridiculous.
I agree. First big time jump is 5 years after he kind of comes up with this theory, and he and Jennifer Connelly get together. He goes to DC, meets up with Ed Harris, who's not real. He needs Nash's help. The scene where he's mad that he didn't get his face on Fortune magazine, and they tell him he has to teach, and he thinks like teaching is so beneath him. I'm like, God, yeah, that tracks. God.
Yep.
That's the other thing too. Like, yeah, she shows up to his class and does that whole thing. Then he misses the next class, and then like, does she just drop his class? Is she just like, all right, I'm going to be this professor's wife now? There's nothing else about class ever again in the movie. Apparently he only took one class at Princeton too. Like, it's so weird, man.
But after this is also whenever we meet hallucination number 3, which Charles has a young niece named Marcy who shows up. And then he proposes to Alicia in possibly the most unromantic proposal I've ever seen, where he essentially says, we need data to prove this commitment is going to work. I'm just like, oh my God. But Alicia's a masochist, and it works for her. So they get married. Did you, if you kind of went into this, did you, and you all said you didn't remember that Ed Harris was a hallucination. Once they're like in the car getting shot at, did you start to think, wait, this can't be real? Or did you think it was still?
Oh, I thought that was absolutely real. Like,
yeah, I was in.
My thought is like schizophrenia does not have people shooting shit at you, right? Like going on wild, rampant ass car chases and everything else.
Although I did think, like, I remember thinking while I was watching, I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, this movie, like, this feels very out of place for this movie.
It feels like a separate movie, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't get the sense, like, I wasn't still clocking right away, like, oh, this is a hallucination.
It turns into a James Bond movie for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, but this feels like, because I was also like, I don't understand, based on the movie I've been watching, where this is going to fit into the rest of the movie that is left, like, where is this going to go?
Yeah, I mean, part of me was like, okay, maybe, like, this whole thing is what causes his schizophrenia. Like, now he's paranoid that, like, the Russians are going to kill him. And, so I was like, damn.
Yeah, well, he's definitely, his hallucinations are really, really bleeding into his real life. He's really paranoid. He's trying to get Alicia to go stay with her sister because they're not safe, and he's watching behind his back and just generally freaking out all the time. But it really comes to a head when he's giving a presentation and he sees men in black, I guess is the best way to put it, and basically runs out of the auditorium and has to be tackled and sedated.
Yeah, see, that was weird too. Like, I guess they eventually allude to that she's the one that made the call and like told them, I guess, hey, he's going to be having a speech or whatever, like, it's just odd that was the setting chosen to take him down. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just odd. It was just an odd choice. And when it's happening, you're like, okay, so who did it and why? You know what I mean? And like, of course, he thinks it's Charles. Like when they're in the room and he's like yelling at him, he's like, "You son of a bitch!" And it's cool. It's a good sequence. It's like, probably the best acting for 2 seconds that Russell Crowe does the whole movie.
Yeah, and he wakes up in restraints, and time to let the audience in on the secret. Nash has paranoid schizophrenia. Although at this point, kind of like you said, you're still, I think it is pretty effective and you're still not quite sure.
Yeah.
Is this really real, or are they trying to gaslight him? But honestly, the fact that Charles is just kind of sitting in the corner is kind of strange, but again, I guess you're he's been in on it the whole time.
He feels terrible. He betrayed his best friend.
Yeah. And, so Alicia gets called in and learns he's got schizophrenia. He's hallucinating. And she goes to his office. And his office looks like that crime board.
Yes.
Charlie
it's
is
always funny.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
He's like touching the board as the GIF. Yeah, it's so good. That was my first thought too. But going back to Charles being in the corner, not saying anything, like I thought it would be, if I really wanted to convince you, Allison, that you are crazy and that Josh here is not real, and I have you in a mental hospital, and now I have people holding you down, sedating you, and you're looking at Josh, calling him a son of a bitch, and I'm looking right at you, and I'm like, who are you talking to? There's nobody there. Like, if Josh really is real and I do that, holy shit, like, that is such a crazy manipulative thing to do. And, like, I just, like, kind of fall for it in the sense of, like, Christopher Plummer's performance, it still feels like when he's doing that, I could very easily see him, like, just trying to gaslight, Nash. And it's just a wild moment where you're like, you're still like holding on that Charles is real.
Yeah, well, I think and part of that's because, I mean, at least for me, he is the character I've liked the most in the movie.
I think they do that on purpose too.
And that's purposeful. And he's just has a different energy about him than anybody else in the movie. And he's been, from the get-go, the only person
he's the only one who seems to have any joy in his life.
Yeah, has joy, and that also seems to connect with Nash without
what's his
like
major
really acknowledging
is it like English literature, I think, or something along those lines?
Yeah, he's a writer, right? He studied what he's a
he's
novel.
Geoffrey Chaucer.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
And I think it's
almost
like
right,
Nash.
Put me with the mathematician, we'll get along.
Yeah, it's like Nash is like it's almost like this other part of him that he would, like if he'd use his intelligence to focus elsewhere instead of math, if he was just really into, literature. Or I can't even remember what the book it is that he's obsessed with, but it's like maybe he's like in his mind obsessed with this one book, and that's why, Charles has dedicated his whole life to this book and stuff. But there's also professors who've done, like, there are people who make their careers on like studying just the works of Shakespeare, or just Hamlet. Like they could build their whole careers on studying one play, and so it's not like an unreasonable thing for Charles to have been doing this. And yeah, it's sad because he flips, his, like, he obviously starts getting ignored and is trying to, it's interesting that the way they handle that.
I forgot to mention earlier, as part of, his super secret spy meetings with Ed Harris, they put an implant in his arm, allegedly, that lets him make these drops.
Oh, it's gnarly.
Yeah. So Alicia goes and finds where he's been making these drops, and of course all the envelopes are just sitting there unopened. When she shows it, he does not react well to being told this is all in his head, which, to be fair, I think would be, most people's reaction. But he seems to be convinced once he starts cutting into his arm to pull out the implant, which is also pretty gnarly.
This is one of my, we talked about, I don't remember what episode it was, but we talked about irrational fears. And I don't think it's irrational, but this is probably my greatest fear, just involving me, is losing my mind. And I don't think that's probably something a lot of people, but I think about it a lot just because, I mean, it just would really be awful to not be able to believe what you're seeing is real, and what's happening in your head isn't real. And I think, for my qualms with this movie, because I it's a fine movie, but I don't love it. I do think this middle part where they start to unveil all of this, it's probably about as good a job, at least at this time, that a movie that's kind of reining itself in as much as this one does can do in terms of showcasing just that feeling and the struggle with learning something like that about yourself.
Yeah, I think all this is. I mean, again, it's fine. It's well done. They give him electroshock therapy, which looks absolutely horrible. Again, we're in the
and it's
1960s, I guess, at this point.
Was it twice a day or once a day for like
10 weeks?
10 weeks?
10 weeks, yeah.
Oh, God.
And they don't, and I actually appreciate that they don't make it, they don't just say it, you know, like that they show it and it like really, like, man, like this is hard.
Mm-hmm.
How can humans do that? Like, you know? It's crazy.
You suck, bro.
Absolutely crazy. We're going to convince you that your brain is functioning improperly by melting your brain with electroshocks just going through it.
But I mean, apparently, I think that's still used sometimes.
Yeah.
Not in nearly as gnarly of a way, obviously, but
I just don't see how it helps. I just can't believe.
Well, because the brain is like electric, right? Like that's sort of how the brain works is electricity, and it's. I can get the science behind thinking it. You know, especially back then when you're still. I mean, because science is changing. I mean, it's always changing, and you learn different things and you try different things, and I mean, because still there's things that we do. I'm going to sound like a fucking anti-vaxxer. I promise I'm not. People, please, I'm listening. Like I got all my shots. I literally I got all my shots up to date like 2 weeks ago. But there are probably things we do now that we take as just matter of fact that are going to be considered really weird 50 or 100 years from now. And, you know, I think none of them are as intense as, you know, like shocking someone like this in this situation. But it you know, I'm sure there are things happening that we do all the time that are going to seem really strange.
Well, I mean, a newer, I guess, therapy for mental illness, transcranial magnetic stimulation, which I don't know if you've heard of, is basically using magnets. There's like an actual little helmet thing that when I was in psychiatry office meeting with a doctor one time, he showed it to me, and you know, it just it helps treat depression and OCD and stimulates nerve cells in the brain somehow. But yeah, the brain is a mysterious place. So our next time jump, Nash is back home. He's with Alicia. They have a baby. One of his old colleagues, I think his name's, is it Saul, pays him an extremely awkward visit. Mm-hmm. It's just the pity.
I love, though, when he goes to sit down and he's like, don't sit on him.
It's so funny.
It's actually funny.
That is my favorite Crowe moment in this movie.
Yes.
Is
like,
that right there.
He's like, what good is losing your mind if you have a little fun with it? I'm like, that's awesome.
And, of course, Alicia comes out with the pills, and he's just like, I'll take them later. And she's like, you have to take them now. And I'm like, oh, come on. You could have been like, hey, I need you inside here for a minute.
Okay, but, you know, all right. Here's my thing, though. There's no sense of being embarrassed about it. Like, your buddy already knows everything that's going on. If he sees you taking the pills, I don't think that that's, like, the end of the world.
I'm thinking 1960s mentality here, because he is clearly, like, really ashamed of it.
He's ashamed, and also, I think he's also, I don't even think it's as much about his buddy watching him take the drugs as it is him just not wanting to take them. You know, like, I think he's just being a stubborn man in that situation, because I do think and we see him later that he's stockpiled, you know, all these pills and is trying to, you know, he gets to the point where he thinks he doesn't need to be taking them, and I think it's more of that. Like,
she should have known when he woke up with morning wood that he wasn't taking his pills anymore.
So when Nash is sitting there with his colleague, and he said, I've been working on a new theory, and he hands him the notebook. And, I mean, he's been scribbling on windows shit that doesn't make sense to us this whole movie. But when he kind of opens the notebook, it looks almost like it's been drawn in, like, crayon or something. I'm like, this looks like something that baby would draw. And I legitimately can't tell if he's put some sort of genius formula here or if he's just drawing cartoons. I'm guessing by the colleague's face that it's nonsense, but
yeah, it's sad.
Also, his medication, makes him impotent, and the fact that this is her breaking point when she can't have sex with him, that she gets up and goes and breaks glasses and starts screaming, crying. I was like, oh, okay. But she's been very sexually aggressive this whole movie, so I guess that tracks.
Yeah, it actually is a pretty right in line with her character. I thought, it's like, this was like the one thing that was holding their marriage together was had good dick.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we're not shocked that he's been hiding his pills, but I laughed at, hey, we've set up his super secret headquarters in a shed in your backyard. All right, and now we get to Alicia discovers the shed. It's another Charlie Day scenario. She realizes, oh my God, he's not been taking his medication. He's alone with the baby. He has put the baby in the bathtub, water running. What is he doing at the window when she walks in? He's doing something and yelling something, and he's like, Charles is watching.
Right. I think he's breaking down code in the window, like writing stuff on the window. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. Or either that or he's looking for like agents or something to be coming to the house, paranoid or whatever. It's one of the others. But yeah, and he's like, oh, Charles is watching the baby. It's okay.
And then the poor baby's face is almost covered with water at this point.
Has Ron Howard ever done a horror movie?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because this made me think that he could actually do one and it be pretty effective, or at least a really good psychological thriller. Like this whole way that it's put together is actually really. That was my thought as I was watching it, because I think because my thoughts on about this whole last half of the movie after the schizophrenia, quote unquote twist. I think it loses a lot of steam, honestly. Like, to me, like, the movie kind of really okay, you just kind of know where you're going. He just needs to try to figure out how to deal with this, and it just kind of dries out for me. But this scene might be my favorite, maybe not my favorite scene in the movie, but it's one of my most memorable ones because of, like, the intensity of the moment and the horror, like the shock of Jennifer Connelly's Alicia, just realizing that she's going through this again, and how creepy it is. Like when she opens the door and it's just this awful situation's going on in their shed, and obviously the baby. I don't know. It made me think like I'd like to. Could Ron Howard, had he done a horror movie, or is something like
I'd be interested in seeing a Ron Howard horror movie.
This would have been a fun swap. Ron Howard does Hannibal and Ridley Scott does A Beautiful Mind.
I'd have taken it.
I'd check it out.
I'd check it out.
But Hannibal and Clarice probably would have actually hooked up in his version, but Hannibal wouldn't have killed anybody in that movie. It would have been a very odd reversal.
Clarice would have had the hots for Hannibal, not the other way around. It would have been.
Yeah.
She would have been aggressively trying to eat him.
Okay, this is really, things are really coming to a head here because Parcher shows up, Charles shows up, and they're in his mind, and they're all yelling at him and saying that she knows too much, and Parcher threatens to kill her, and he thinks she's on the phone desperately trying to call the doctor. He thinks he's saving her, but he basically knocks her to the floor, and she's like, get away from me, and runs to the car. And this is where he has his, as you mentioned, breakthrough of like, wait a second, that little girl hasn't aged. I figured it out.
Only took me.
Also, do you think that like he runs out and like kind of stops her from driving away, and he's just screaming, she doesn't age at her? And I'm like, do you think that she knows what that means?
That's not crazy. That's the most same thing he said all day.
That's not crazy at all.
Yeah, and they do a really good job of showing his perspective of like Parcher getting ready to shoot her and thinking that he's saving her life. And then from her perspective, he just attacked me for trying to have him committed. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? That whole like two sides to that story is really well done in that sequence. But yeah, he just tackled you, almost hurt you and the baby, and he's telling you, well, she doesn't AIDS. I know now. Oh, okay.
But this is
just grab my stuff and I'll just move back.
This is where he realizes he can just use the power of logic to overcome.
Let's not think politically. Let's think scientifically.
Right. So it's a waste of mental energy.
Honestly, he might be right.
He's absolutely right. He's 100% right. Yeah. Do you really think the people who think politically in this country actually use their brain anymore?
Oh, God.
On either side.
Oh.
And he won't go back in the hospital, and Alicia decides, she could commit him. She could sign an order, but ultimately decides not to. Which I'm like, I don't know. I just don't understand her complete devotion to this man, because I just don't think I've seen why they have such a connection. But
what's the quote? He says, "If you try to kill me, to call him." What? Something along those lines. Where she's just like, "Yeah." Well, the doctor basically said, "If you try to kill me." Which now is a really fucked up joke to make. It's not a joke in the movie, but it's a really fucked up joke to make when you realize that this was originally a script about somebody who did kill their wife.
Yeah. Crazy. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So more time jumps. Basically, Nash kind of tucks his tail between his legs, goes back to Princeton, asks his old frenemy if he can basically come and hang out in the library and do math, I guess.
I need something to do.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Can I just sit here and draw on your windows?
Yeah. And we kind of have a brief little outburst. What's this guy's name? Hanson. Which...
Yeah, like the band.
I have lots of stories about Hanson, by the way. We'll talk about that at some point in the future. But I guess the library, no one told the library, hey, this weird old man's going to be coming drawing on your windows, and they try to kick him out, and he freaks out. Hanson smooths it over.
He walked up to another college student, and he said, "Do you see that ghost over there? Why don't you go see if you can catch it?
See if you can try to catch him.
That's called a foreshadowing technique.
Foreshadowing. Yeah. We've done that episode, but it hasn't come out yet. Stay tuned for about 7 to 8 weeks from now, guys. Yeah. Oh, shit.
But it's around this time when I guess he and Alicia they realize that, his hallucination, it's really triggered by stress, and recognizing the trigger, I guess, is going to help him kind of use his logic to keep his brain in check. So he's back on campus. He's walking around like an eccentric old man. College kids are making fun of him, which I was like, man, kids are such assholes. Like they're like walking behind him and mocking the way that he's walking, and
it's really hard to watch when he's having the breakdown saying, "I'm not a soldier. I'm not a soldier." Mm-hmm. And like they're all just, you could see it happen in today's, and like, you just picture like nothing but camera phones just recording.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's honestly the best thing about this scene is seeing something like that and thinking about, what that would look like today if this
10
same
times
thing
worse.
was happening.
Oh, absolutely. He would not have a career after this. But I think the asshole college kids are there to kind of provide the counterpart of where there's another time jump. He's in the library drawing on the windows, and a student comes up and is like, "Oh, you're John Nash, and here's what I've been working on." And Nash really shows an interest and sits down with the student, and we kind of cut to Hanson brings Alicia in. And Nash has like a little fan club of students at a table, and he's kind of, teaching them, regaling them or whatever. And this is really a big moment where she's like, oh, it's like, I felt it was very like a mother whose son has had trouble making friends. It's like he's at the playground and he's made friends with other boys. Like, he's going to be
finally
okay.
Connecting with people.
All right. Another time jump. So he's now teaching. He's agreed to teach. I guess he thinks it's no longer beneath him. I did genuinely laugh out loud when the older man comes up to him and he stops and looks at that student. He's like, is that guy actually there?
And he's like, sorry,
That was good.
Yeah.
I'm weary of new people.
Yeah.
It's like,
he's like,
all
just,
right.
I just got to check. And for that man to tell him, we're here to tell you you're up for the Nobel Prize, but he says, or he basically indicates that he's there because they want to make sure that he's not a guy's going to cause a scene or have some sort of outburst if he does win the prize, but embarrasses, I almost said the Academy, but sorry, Oscar talk.
Which it's funny because if it would absolutely be like my first thought if I was a known schizophrenic and I meet somebody brand new and the first thing they tell me is, we want you to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I'd be like, get the fuck.
Yeah. This is
Like, I'm ignoring you. I will
This
never
is
say
made
another
up
word to you.
shit.
Go sit over there.
I'm
in the corner
on to
with
you.
Charles. Yeah, like
Go sit over there with Charles and Marcy.
and his niece that never ages.
You're
And
their
leave me
grandpa
alone.
now.
Yeah.
But that guy also makes him go into the tea room and sits him down. And did he know that they were going to do this pen ceremony? Was he basically luring him almost like a surprise party? Or was that just happenstance? But yeah, the pen ceremony comes back. And it's still weird.
A better actor would have made me cry.
It's supposed to be a really triumphant moment, but the whole ceremony I find so bizarre that
It's
I'm
just
like,
corny.
I don't know.
In a
What the
movie
fuck's he
that
gonna
is-
do with all those pins? Can he put them on his
You
pocket?
probably sell them. Those are fountain pens. They're expensive.
I mean, they're all nice pins. I'm over here baffled. Like, this guy's got the same pin as that guy. That guy's got the same pin as both of them. Oh, this guy's pin is silver. He's not as good. There's a gold. That guy's got a green pin. Like, I'm literally like, that's how my brain's working.
Pen envy
Yeah.
to go along with our fetus and penis envy.
Yeah.
And then we cut to, Nash wins the Nobel Prize. Jennifer Connelly is unrecognizable in this makeup. Absolutely. And maybe that's where the nomination
was all this.
for makeup came in. Russell Crowe is still recognizable under the makeup.
He looks like he does today.
I focused on her, and I was like, man, I just don't see it. And the movie ends with some happy text about how he's been so influential. They still live in Princeton, and he still walks to campus every day. But this was 2001, and just to bring everybody down, Nash and his wife died in a car accident in 2015. The end.
They were driving back from like something else he was honored with or something, I think, too. I read about it, and I was like, man, because he probably wouldn't still be alive. They were, think in their 80s.
Yeah. They were
Still, could have possibly still been alive. It's sad.
Yeah, see, and I thought his speech was beautiful, though. I don't know if that's really how his
No, it's
Nobel
not.
Prize. I
It's
figured
not.
it probably was bullshit.
Yeah.
Which sucks because it was a good speech.
It's
Probably much better than the speech he actually gave.
You would wish it would be like Lou Gehrig's famous speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings me to tears listening
Every
to
time.
it. Yeah. And that was real. That really happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to finish. I know I have shat a lot on this movie. It's fine. It is aggressively fine, as I told you. I think it is a competent, well-made movie. Slate, to your point, my disdain for it really is the fact that it won Best Picture over better nominees. Even worse, Best Adapted Screenplay, when you had Fellowship of the Ring, which Slate, I know you can't stand those movies, but to adapt that text into a movie that made sense was a feat of unimaginable proportions. And Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, and they knocked it out of the park. But the most egregious thing for Ron Howard to win Best Director over David Lynch, even Robert Altman. Oh my God, who else was nominated? I literally looked this up earlier and forgot, but it literally any of them, I was like,
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, Peter Jackson.
And Ridley Scott for Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, and Ridley Scott.
Yeah, all four of those are. The screenplay thing, just going back to that for a second, I think all four of the other movies that were nominated that year would have been far and away better selections. And one of those movies was Shrek.
Well, here's the thing. Another problem with that is, like, do not tell me this is one of the best screenplays of the year when it's based off a book and you've taken so many
changed
liberties.
Everything.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you've sanded it down. You've taken out all of the real icky nuance that would make this really intriguing.
Make it more a challenging movie.
Yeah.
And you've also acknowledged that it's also possibly been influenced by a script that already existed,
written by someone else.
Written by someone else. Like
they should have given him like co-writer credits or something.
Well, what that says to me, though, like knowing what we know about Akiva Goldsman's filmography, otherwise, I'd be, because what is he doesn't even have a written. It's like written.
He has no original concepts.
No, yeah, we'll get into that. It's in my bonus features.
Okay, that's where.
But the way they credit him in this movie, he offers this dumb. I'm assuming it's true, but this kind of dumb defense of it. I mean, I think I truly can't get over because we just watched Mulholland Drive, and David Lynch, man.
Yeah.
You know,
the fact that it wasn't even
I
nominated.
didn't enjoy Gosford Park. I enjoyed pieces of it, but overall I was like, this movie really wasn't for me, right? But
if Robert Altman had won Best Director, I would be breaking my laptop.
But that movie had some style. You know, there were some interesting shots, and I don't know. I found it more challenging than this movie. I don't know. This movie is perfectly competent, but I just don't think it does anything particularly interesting outside of having, the twist for the audience halfway through.
I guess that's what I'm like. I think it's weirdly maybe the least offensive of the awards it won is directing, but it's still, in my opinion,
I find that very offensive.
Well, I guess it's between.
When you compare it to Mulholland Drive, yes.
I guess you're right. I mean, I guess Jennifer Connelly is the one that is probably the least offensive because the other, the Gosford Park girls.
They probably cannibalized votes from each other.
They were cannibalizing each other. Marissa Tomei is really good and In the Bedroom. I watched that.
You're married, Josh. Don't talk about her like that.
And oh well.
Oh, sorry.
But I don't think she's necessarily better than what Jennifer Connelly's doing in this movie. I think they're pretty close. And I've not seen Irish yet, so Kate Winslet, I can't speak to that. So I would, Jennifer Connelly winning Best Supporting Actress of the women nominated is probably the least offensive. But the directing thing, I think, is probably, I think it's worse that this won Best Picture than director, even though I do think all four of the people are way better, just way more deserving of it. Mostly because I think, I just think this. I think it's well directed, but I don't think there's anything special happening. Whereas the other movies, there are really cool. I didn't love Black Hawk Down, but I would have if Ridley Scott had won. Movie, it would have been incredible. It would have been well deserved, I think.
Especially in the year 2000, 2002, with everything that was going on.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. Going back to the original script that was based on the other man that committed the murder with schizophrenia, and I know you have in the notes that the guy who wrote the script, strongly still encouraged, Ron Howard to make that movie, and include the murder and say like, use that as like, this is part of what schizophrenia is. And like, you can tell a very good and powerful story with this. I tend to lean that way. Like,
See, I think it was just the recent. I think if you tried to do it now, sure.
They haven't done that though. Like they still haven't touched it. And
So,
maybe it's because it's probably too much like this movie now. But yeah, like I think that they could have done it. Like they could have approached it in a very delicate manner and done that movie, and it probably would have been a better movie than this movie.
Oh, I think it would have. I mean, I can see and would agree with Ron Howard being like, I'm not going to touch that with it just happening. But
you're talking about Opie from like Andy Griffith show. But also, he's not going to do that controversy thing.
Give it some time because it's honestly kind of cruel to the families
3 years later
to be exploiting their pain. At that point, but
yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I'd be interested in.
He was on to bigger and better things. He had to make the Grinch.
Oh my God. Ready to get into bonus features?
Yeah.
Which I have titled Movie Biopics, and Why Are They Usually So Lame? So this movie is classic biopic. So biopic, short for biographical picture. As I mentioned, a word I mispronounced for most of my life. It's basically a film dramatization of someone's life. The concept has been around nearly as long as the modern movie as we know it has been around. The first movie considered to be a biopic was Joan of Arc in 1900, directed by Georges Méliès. And today, biopics are in abundance.
I could not believe the stat when I read it earlier.
So
it's absurd.
I finally found basically a Wikipedia list of. I just was like, how many came out in 2025? 39. 39 in this Wikipedia list. There could be more for all I know.
Is that just American movies or like?
No,
worldwide?
I think that's worldwide because there were movies I hadn't heard of. So I frequently biopic seems to be, as you mentioned, Slate, kind of a shorthand, a short, quick way to get an Oscar. We're supposed they're frequently Oscar bait. We're supposed to be wowed by how actors transform themselves into actual human beings, as if transforming into a fictional character isn't impressive. But so much of the time, it feels like the focus really is on like how much does this person look, or maybe even sound like the real person, as opposed to kind of really embodying that person's, personality, mannerisms, vibe, whatever. And we've mentioned the Elvis Baz Luhrmann movie featuring Austin Butler. I don't think he really looks like Elvis, but I don't know. I felt like he really captured the energy well, And it's often just kind of a impersonation. And I don't think that's particularly impressive. That's like something you do for a SNL skit.
I think it depends on the actor and the way the script and the director. Like you need almost like a perfect storm for these things to happen. I think part of the problem with biopics and why they often don't do as well as like the anticipation for them goes, a lot of times is because they're very limited in what they do. Most biopics are only a 6-month or a year to 2-year span of this person's life. They don't really encapsulate everything that person is, right? When I think about biopics that I really enjoyed or that I think are really great, a lot of them still only stay in that lane for that like one specific time, but they just do a better job of encapsulating like the importance of who this person is, and the performances are amazing. Chadwick Boseman as Jackie Robinson in 42 is amazing. That movie is so good. It's fantastic. Another one like Straight Outta Compton, the NWA story, is a amazing biopic. It is fantastic. It's so good. Ultimately, I think the two of the best biopics I think of all time, performance wise, and just as films in general, are Amadeus, which is the Wolfgang Mozart. That movie is just great, and it's carried by the guy that plays Mozart, but the guy that plays like his antagonist, that's telling the story, that's kind of like the villain, is really fucking good. And obviously I think that helps us because, one, we weren't around when Mozart was around. We don't know what Mozart was really like based other than like what you read in a history book. So this movie gives you that, right? But lastly, I think Ray. Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles is also another performance that, like, you don't realize it's Jamie Foxx. It doesn't feel like Jamie Foxx playing Ray Charles. It feels like Ray Charles. The voice, the music, the sound, like he did all of the singing, did the performances, like he's very believable, blind, and the way he carries himself as Ray Charles, like it's just a top-notch performance. But I think you get a lot of hands in the pots in a lot of these that cause problems too. Like the new Michael Jackson biopic's coming out, and I think it's going to be fun, but I don't think it's going to be a great movie at all. I think it's going to highlight some of the big parts of his life, but it's not going to touch on the controversial things about his life because his family has a say so in it.
I mean, it's
His nephew is
starring.
playing
I can't
him.
remember.
It's
his nephew.
His
or
nephew.
something?
Yeah.
It's his nephew. His nephew's playing him, and it's one of those things where it's like Michael Jackson is somebody that, like, one, you need to talk about him as a child star. You need to talk about his awful relationship with his father. You need to talk about his teenage years and like the awkwardness of everything that's going on there, how he branches out and does his own thing, and then like the phenomenon that is him. And like you could do a 4-hour movie on Michael Jackson. Like it needs to be, and it's going to be a 1.5 to 2 hour puff piece that only shows like the big popular things that we know about him. Like there's nothing. My daughter's 8 years old, and there's almost nothing in that movie that she doesn't already know about Michael Jackson that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think of that, like, to me, there's just so much larger chance that is Bohemian Rhapsody versus Walk the Line. Like, that's what comes to mind for me as a musical biopic. Like, I'm a country music person, but in it, it's not like a 1-to-1 thing of Johnny Cash's life or whatever, but to me, it's like a really good example of something that handles a lot of what happens in someone's life that is a little, challenging, while still kind of staying a little saccharine and getting you to where you want to go as a movie. And I'm like, like someone like Michael Jackson is really interesting because there is a way to do a really good movie that doesn't touch on the late stage stuff, and I think be a really good movie and a really fun movie, like you said. But it's what we know and what we think we know about this person is so. It's like with how we look at A Beautiful Mind and the Best Picture conversation in a way. Like we're clouded by the bad memories and like the allegations against this person in a way that we can't. It's impossible to reconcile that while you're watching it in a way that is not fair to really anybody involved with the movie. As I think about like that movie about Trump that came out, what was it called? The Apprentice, something like that. It had a really hard like. Well, no, it was about Trump though.
Yeah, it started Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan, and like apparently he's pretty good in that.
Wasn't he nominated for?
I don't know if he was nominated for anything, but I remember people saying he was good, but it had a tough time even finding a distributor because of the toxicity around Trump. And like I understand that, like I'm obviously fucking hate Trump, but I would still be interested in watching that at some point. Just even though it's so hard to separate that person, like what Trump is in our minds from that movie. Like I feel like as good as that movie might be, it's going to be impossible to watch it in a way that isn't taking that impression of that person, well, in Trump's case, I think not even impression, it's just what he is, and not applying that to the movie, even though it's not really, the movie is telling one story of that person.
Sebastian Stan was I was thinking he was nominated for a lot of the smaller awards, but for Best Actor at the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And
okay.
Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards for Jeremy Strong.
Okay.
Nominated, but not win.
Nice. Okay. And speaking more onto that, you know, some other performances like I really like Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe in Blonde. I thought she was fantastic.
And that got panned, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it did.
The movie got panned, but I haven't seen it. But the consensus seems to be she's really good in it, even if the movie's not.
The movie's not great, but she's very good. You know, you mentioned these in the notes, like Marty Supreme and the Bob Dylan movie, Complete Unknown. I thought Timothée Chalamet was great in both of those. I really did. Like, I don't even know a whole lot about Bob Dylan other than what I watched in that movie, and I was into it. I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought A Complete Unknown was masterful, and I thought Marty Supreme, honestly, I really thought Timothée Chalamet was going to win over Michael B. Jordan. I thought he was fantastic in Marty Supreme.
I was always on board with Michael B. Jordan, but that was before I saw Marty Supreme, and I still, even after seeing it, was still in the Jordan camp, so I'm glad he won. But I will say, if Chalamet had won, I would have totally understood it. Like, because he's just so... and it's mostly because if he isn't as fucking great in that movie as he is, that movie sucks.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like, that movie is probably like... I don't like to do, like, numbers. Like, I would say it's like a 8.5 or a 9 out of 10, probably, if I was doing that.
But
it's
that's
probably
because
like a
his
4 if he's not doing what he's doing in that movie.
That's an absolute fact. And biopics to me that work well in the separation between like great biopics and good ones, or good ones and bad ones, however you want to look at it, is even the ones that have like participation from the people that are involved in like that person's life or that person in general. The ones that to me stand out and the ones that are the best are the ones that show a complete picture of this is the greatness that this person was. This is also the tragedy of how terrible they were at life and bad decisions they made. And like, they were a great musician, but they were also probably a shitty person at certain parts of their life. Doesn't mean they're always a shitty person, but like, you know, Ray Charles is like a woman beater at some point, a drug addict, cheats on his wife. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a piece of shit. But like, they do a really good job of redeeming him too. And like, not making, you know, and I think when you make it a fluff piece, you really cheapen the entire, what their life is when you don't encapsulate that. So,
well, and Ray's a good example because like with something like Marty Supreme, like it's based on somebody who, like no one knows who this fucking player is.
I didn't know if this was a true story or not. I assumed it was, but I never did the research.
It's like very loosely
based on.
But I think it's still like it's in that ballpark. I mean, it's in the Fast and the Furious camp.
It's in the Jeepers Creepers camp of a true story.
Yeah.
But the thing you said about Ray that I think is a really salient point on all of this is that's a very famous person. I think, especially if you're someone who has followed Ray Charles, but for most people, like you've just heard his music and you like it or you don't like it or whatever, that it's willing to go into some of that darker corner or like the things that it reveals something about this person that you didn't know, or that or carves out a story around a part of their life that you don't. That's when they, I think, are most effective. Like, I'm cool. Like, I understand, like, it's a movie. Like, nothing's ever going to be like 1-to-1 what a person's life was. It's not a documentary. But the ones that do that, I feel like are the ones that end up being the strongest. Like, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest movie of the, one of the biggest movies of the century that we're in is The Social Network, and that's like, that's pretty goes in deep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and it's Fincher. I mean, it's like it's one of the greats, and and it's weird. Like, I don't like think you actually even have to have a great director to do a really good biopic, but there's almost probably a correlation a lot of times. Like for the ones that are exceptional, tend to have like a Fincher. you know, a Safdie brother in the sense of, you know, the Marty Supreme, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned I have Marty Supreme in my notes, and I'm not saying, oh, Timothy Chalamet isn't good and he doesn't deserve to win an Oscar. I'm saying he very clearly like thirsts to win an Academy, which I'm not.
He's in his Leo mode.
He's Leo.
He is.
Like,
he's absolutely, and I think
it's a shame. It's a damn shame.
He's literally said like, I want to be one of the greats, and so he's taking these roles.
He's gonna get treated like one.
How long did it take Leo to win?
Was he in his 40s?
2 decades, 3 decades. But
yeah.
I
Do you
just
think
he's gonna win for
like,
some...
if we keep dangling the carrot, he'll keep taking really good movies.
I think they do that with people sometimes. I really do. I think they do it as a way to like, okay, go out there and make like 5 fucking bangers.
But yeah,
and
but
then
clearly
he's
making
then we'll
decisions.
reward you for a movie you have 5 lines in, like The Revenant.
He's making decisions to take these roles, and I honestly believe part of it is because he's like, I'm going to be one of the greats doing this and get some accolades.
Amy Madigan, you're about 10 years from death. You can have an award.
I'm so glad
she's
she
fantastic.
won, honestly.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for horror overall.
But I compare. Timothy Chalamet also has given really great performances doing biopics. But just looking back on 2025, I've got these other movies that to me were just like screaming, "Take me seriously, Oscar bait." The Springsteen movie, which
poop.
I was like, I have no interest in seeing. I like The Bear fine. I like Jeremy Allen White fine. I really enjoyed him in The Iron Claw. You know,
yes,
that was another
an amazing biopic.
Another biopic,
an amazing biopic. But if that doesn't make you cry, you have no heart.
It really seemed like this was him angling to get into movies and kind of lead a movie and maybe win some awards, and that movie went absolutely nowhere. It delivered him nowhere, if you will. And The Smashing Machine, which was The Rock, Dwayne The Rock
very,
Johnson,
very hard to
being
get an
like,
Oscar.
"Take me seriously. I'm not just Fast and Furious boobies. I want to be the first wrestler to win an Oscar." Like
it's going to be Dave Bautista.
Yeah. That's what I see in my notes.
Bautista,
I'm with Slate. Batista's going to be the first one.
It's going to be Dave Bautista.
I will say, The Rock, as far as like talking about like transformations, because a lot of this does also tie into like how much do you end up looking like what The Rock, the makeup they did for that movie is really fucking impressive. Like they did a really good job. Now I didn't watch the movie, and I was more excited about it when I saw the trailer, and then like after it kind of didn't seem like it was very good. So I think it was like a case of like, oh, a trailer that's really good, and then it goes nowhere.
When I heard a podcast that is very well known in the movie world discussing that they felt like the director was making almost a satirical film that was somewhat like poking fun at the main character, and The Rock was taking it extremely seriously. I was like, this sounds like it's doomed. So I do want to watch it. But yeah, that is one that's like, The Rock, please take me seriously. And, but go back
to Jungle Cruise, buddy.
Yeah. Going back to the thought of like the biopics and not necessarily having a great director for it or a well-known director. I think it depends on the person's passion for that too. Like for instance, okay, I am probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest Tupac fan that both of you know. Like I love Tupac. The first tattoo that I ever got is a cross tattoo with the Bible verse, but the cross that I have is the same cross that Tupac had tattooed on his back. I love Tupac. Okay. I was
Eminem
so excited.
wrote a song about you.
Yeah, I'm not a stan. Okay. But I was so excited for All Eyes on Me, which is the Tupac biopic, and Demetrius Shipp Jr. Plays Tupac, and he was a nobody. Looks exactly like Tupac. It is insane how much he embodies Tupac in this movie. And based off the trailers and everything, I was all in. Went and saw the movie. I had fun with it. I loved the movie because of the highlights. I have watched that movie maybe one time since seeing it in theaters, because even when I was leaving the movie theater, my brother who went with me, who's the reason why I love Tupac, was like, man, I thought that was really good. And I was like, that's an average biopic. Like, it is not great. The guy that made it makes music videos and it looks like a music video. It's just,
Yeah.
That's what it is. The jewelry looks fake. I told him, I was like, how can you do Straight Outta Compton and it looks this good and it's this amazing? And then like 2 years later, we come out with this movie and it looks like a CW movie. So
CW is always catching strays on this show.
Yeah.
Oh no, the poor CW.
So, but going back to like having the passion for it, a movie that I almost drafted and I would love to talk about that came out this year is an amazing biopic called 61, which is directed by Billy Crystal. And, Billy Crystal's not a director, he's an actor and he's a comedic actor. This movie is about Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris's chase to break Babe Ruth's record. And it is an amazing movie. Tom Jane gives the best performance he's ever given as Mickey Mantle. And Barry Pepper as Roger Maris is awesome. And they do a great job of just tying it to like Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa as they're breaking Roger Maris's record. But then they, go back in time and show like all the stress that Maris is going through and, what Mickey Mantle's dealing with as far as like being an alcoholic and really not a good person at all, not much of a teammate and dealing with injury and old age and playing through it because he has to live up to this legend that is Mickey Mantle. And it's definitely a movie I would love to talk about. And just talking about biopics, I feel like it's one that never gets mentioned and absolutely should be discussed.
I do want to my last movie biopic from last year on this list that I do want to mention because I find it very funny.
I like your descriptor here.
So Christy, which is the biopic about female boxer Christy Martin, starring
shit on Sydney Sweeney.
The sentient wet paper towel Sydney Sweeney.
Sentient. I read that and I was like, oh
wet
man,
paper towel?
she's right. I kind of see it. I see what you're saying.
I haven't seen. She's in Euphoria, right?
Yes, she's also in White Lotus.
White Lotus is the thing I like her in.
Man,
but I even
did
see
not
it there.
care
I can
for
kind
White
of see.
Lotus. But
first
everything
season's
else,
really good.
everything I've seen her in, I'm just like,
Immaculate. Have you seen
I
Immaculate?
don't get it. No.
She's a nun or something in that, ain't she?
Immaculate is
Anyway.
actually a really dope movie.
So
It's a horror movie.
This movie, Christy, female boxer, lesbian female boxer, with an abusive husband. It has all like the classic Oscar bait stuff for actresses. Oh, you need to gain weight for a role, transform yourself. Your husband's abusing you and he ends up trying to murder you. You end up, going into this lesbian relationship, and it made me think of, I don't know, Charlize Theron transforming herself for a monster, or there have just been so many instances of you're gonna turn into someone else and then automatically win some awards, and this movie just kind of has all the hallmarks of that. But it all backfired. It had one of the worst opening weekends of all time, and when Sydney Sweeney went to defend the movie, saying, "We don't always make art for numbers, we make art for impact." Sure. And awards.
It's a good answer. It's a good response.
But given the subject of the film,
no, Ruby,
and Sydney Sweeney's personal politics, I don't particularly care for Ruby Rose, but this made me actually laugh out loud. So her quote, Ruby Rose, openly out actress, said this about Sydney Sweeney's response for her PR to talk about the movie flopping and saying that she did it for the people. None of the people want to see someone who hates them parading around pretending to be us. You're a cretin.
Cretin is such an awful word.
And you ruined the film, period. Christy deserved better. I remember all the headlines was like, Ruby Rose calls Sydney Sweeney a cretin. It's like,
okay,
oh, God.
Did she also she failed to acknowledge that, and I'm not saying she's not wrong to shit on Sydney Sweeney, I don't know, but she left out that she was also attached to this movie at some point and was supposed to be the lead, and apparently somehow when it got, because it switched, it was an independent movie and got bought up by
and then when they got a bigger budget, they went with Sydney, and she was not very happy.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not particularly defending her comment here. I just it just actually made me laugh out
loud. Okay, so I remember like seeing the pictures of Sydney Sweeney like on set, like all muscled out, dyed her hair, changed her hair, whatever, and like thinking like and hearing about this movie, and I was excited for it, and I was like, all right, like this is gonna be cool. Like I hope it's a really good movie. It'd be nice to see like her give a meaningful performance to something. I was not aware of her politics. I still don't know what she said. I'm assuming
she's not really said anything. That's kind of the rub with her, is she's been adopted. But there are associations with her that are, well, she's a registered Republican, I guess. That's one thing that's out there. But that
so
whatever.
is a lot of people in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm not even like, that's something you can't really, I mean, just by itself can't really say. But she's also very much this person who is out there, like, anytime it comes up, she's like, well, whatever they try to paint me as, I can't say it's not true, because there will always be people saying, well, she's just saying that. It's like she just hides behind the, I just want to make art, I don't care about politics, ignoring the fact that making anything is fucking a political statement in some way, because you're choosing to make something that says, if unless it's just nothing, that's just a vapid movie that has nothing about it, then I guess you could say that. But she's making things that are like,
she took the Michael Jordan approach. Republicans buy sneakers too.
Well, yeah, Michael Jordan was playing basketball. He wasn't making movies that just inherently, have things to say generally, and it's like, I think the bigger thing with the problem with Christie is like whatever, because it sounds like she was fine in it. I've not watched the movie. I mean, it's going to sound misogynistic, but I think the biggest thing that's the problem with that is just like people just want to see Sydney Sweeney being hot. Like that's the appeal with her. Like they don't like. It's like it didn't fail because of her.
Like, is she attractive? Absolutely, but I want to see her as a performer.
And The Housemaid was like one of the best performing movies of the year. And it's like, people I think they want to see her in certain types of roles, and I don't think that. I think it's a really hard thing to. Because apparently also, like, all the images from that movie that they used for PR are, like, her looking really, like, disgusting. And, like, she's apparently in the movie doesn't even look like that. Like,
I wouldn't say disgusting. Like, the pictures that I saw, she just looked...
Well, like, she's, like, in a fight. Like,
I guess you would use the term, butch. I don't know if that's appropriate. But she looks... like a lesbian.
Well, like she looks like the character she's portraying, I guess, too. Because I don't know a lot about this. But that's the other thing. I also think this subject is like a really, like, I don't know. Frankly, I don't know anything about this person. And that's the biggest problem
with this movie for me, and the reason why I think it flopped, is there was some negative tones towards her before the movie came out. But I saw more PR about her behind the scenes when she was making the movie than I did of the movie when it was finished. There was nobody talking about the movie. There were no trailers that I ever came across. I was like, when does this movie come out? And then like it came out, and I was like, well, damn, they shit all over it.
I do think that's a common problem in a lot of movie marketing. There's actors out there talking about stuff, and like they're allegedly on a tour promoting a movie, and the movie never even comes up.
Yeah.
It absolutely disappeared. I saw more about people ordering soap with her bathwater in it than I did about this fucking movie. But going back to Immaculate, though. No, the reason why I want to say that.
Welcome to the Sydney Sweeney podcast.
Well, no, the reason why I want to say this is because her performance in that movie is not a traditional horror movie. It does require some dramatic depth, and I think she does a very good job in the movie. Immaculate is a very underrated horror film, I think, that I really enjoyed. It is a form of elevated horror, But I think it's available on Hulu. I would love for at least one of you guys to check it out if you got time and tell me what you think about it. Because
Josh will assign it to us, I'm sure.
No, for real.
It was actually supposed to come out in 2001. No.
But for real, that movie is what made me want to see her in this movie, because it felt like, okay, she took like a step here. Let's see how much further she can go with this movie.
I'm pro Sydney Sweeney as an actress. Like, I don't have anything like I'm intrigued by her too. I mean, but again, admittedly, also part of it, like, is she's nice to look at. Like, I'm not going to say she isn't like attractive. Like, but you know, that aside, as far as like the movie, because I know we're just talking about biopics in general. I think it is interesting that we see so many things like that are like, now we're at a point where there seems like there's so many of them right now. Like, it's almost like they're like Oscar repellent in a way. Like instead of becoming the bait, like there's so many of them.
Find a way to approach it from a different.
And because
it's cookie cutter.
Because and this is really especially happening with biopics about musicians, to the point of, I don't know if you've seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which is fantastic. It's so funny. It's a parody. It's a straight parody, and it hits all the notes. I was like, yes, this is just about every single biopic. Jesus fucking Christ.
Biopic.
There's the real Allison.
I'm getting tired and I'm losing control of my faculties. But they've all become so bland and almost like Mad Libs, kind of fill in the blank, you know.
Yep.
Well, and somebody brought up the states and stuff being involved in this, and I think that plays a role in this too. Like that kind of hamstrings the creatives a lot of times, and not dismissing them because they choose to be involved in that, so there's much part of the issue too. But
that's why I dislike Bohemian Rhapsody so much, and I know a lot of people love it. Okay, I have in my notes here, like, here's a tale of two musical biopics that happened in, you know, the late '80s. So Bohemian Rhapsody comes out in 2018, Rocket Man in 2019. Bohemian Rhapsody, to me, I think that Rami Malek is just really doing an impression of Freddie Mercury. He's got some fake teeth in. Okay, great. The fact that so much of the movie focuses on his girlfriend. The one time he had a female companion, I guess, before he kind of, you know, finally came out. I'm like, this is one of the greatest gay icons of all time. I just think it's a little strange to focus so much on her, and there's not that much focus on that part of his life. And I genuinely think that the movie is only interesting because it is about Queen, who are amazing. And it ends with that famous Live Aid set that's just electric. But otherwise, I think it is the most pedestrian, by-the-numbers biopic. Queen was very, very heavily involved, and I feel like you can absolutely tell that they don't want his legacy really tainted necessarily in any way, which I can totally get. But I cannot believe that movie was nominated for so many Oscars.
That was my thing that year. Like, I was stunned that it had the adulation that it did from the Academy, because it was also like, I don't even remember it being that well reviewed.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
like extraordinarily reviewed. I mean, I'm sure it was fine, but like, and nothing to the point that would
Rami
speak
Malek
to...
gets a Best Actor. Did he win? He didn't win, did he? He was definitely nominated for Best Actor. But so again, I'm kind of baffled by this. 2019. Go to see Rocket Man, which I don't know if you all have seen.
I couldn't get through it.
See, I loved it. And because it took a less traditional approach, it's almost
it just wasn't what I was expecting.
It's almost like a musical. All the musical numbers are done in a very surreal, fantastical way. This is not something that happened in real life. They make it like really clear, and everything is heightened. I think Taron Egerton is really good. Mm-hmm. He's also, Rami Malek did not sing. I think if you're going to hire someone to play a singer, they don't have to necessarily sound exactly like them. But again, capturing the vibe. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't sound just like Johnny Cash, but he has like this similar deep voice and gravitas, and it worked for me.
Well, it's easy to sing like Johnny Cash. All you have to do is talk real slow.
But he can hit those super, super low notes in Walk the Line, you know, which I think a lot of people probably couldn't do. And Taron Egerton sings in Rocket Man. He doesn't sound just like Elton John, but he's good. And he really, really just captures the vibe of it. Also, there is a very hot sex scene with him and Richard Madden, a.k.a. Robb Stark from Game of Thrones. And I really appreciated that Elton John, gay icon, and they didn't shy away from
let him be gay.
adding that. Yeah, they let him.
It's overly gay. The beginning of the movie starts with him in this big ass peacock outfit. Or some shit.
I know. He shows up to like a therapy session and he's wearing one of his extravagant outfits. I just think it's an incredibly fun movie. Elton John was heavily involved, but I appreciate that it's immediately apparent that you're not taking this as seriously a one-to-one to his life. You're kind of getting the essence of his life.
See, I think the problem with me with that movie, why I didn't finish it, I still want to watch it and finish it, just because like I do want to take Taron Egerton's performance all the way through. But like when I'm watching a biopic, I want to watch like events and stuff that like did happen, like and like they from the jump tell you like this story is like almost all fabricated. Like it did not happen like this. And like it took me out of it right then and there. Like I don't know.
So you're saying you did. Well, first off, how many movies do you think you've been brought up that have on this show so far that I fell asleep halfway through or I didn't finish it?
Yo, I watch a lot though. I do.
That happened to me actually last night. I got halfway through The Secret Agent and I was really vibing with it, but I just kept falling asleep. So I'm still trying to catch up on that. But it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Nothing.
And I have to read the whole time.
Than Pulse. So.
Yeah.
But my point being that Rocket Man got a few accolades. The only Oscar it was nominated for was Best Original Song. Taron Egerton was nominated for Best Actor for a Golden Globe, but I was like, I thought this movie was way more deserving of being something different and spectacular compared to Bohemian Rhapsody.
It is, like, from what I remember of it, it is the Moulin Rouge of biopics.
It's a little Moulin Rouge-esque. Not quite to Elvis, Baz Luhrmann Elvis levels, but...
That's fair.
Okay, so before I want to wrap this up, we mentioned this earlier, but I just wanted to make the point that I'm not someone who usually gets tremendously hung up on taking some liberties with someone's personal story. I mean, movies have to make a narrative that's going to make sense, condense characters, or leave out details to make it fit, in a 2-hour time frame. And generally, fine, I kind of get it. But that there is a point when you are making so many changes and they are significant to kind of make it fit your narrative and sand off the sharp edges, like I mentioned, that it's almost like, why bother? Kind of like you said, Josh. And A Beautiful Mind is kind of right at that line for me. That you had to change so much to make this, quote, palatable. And again, it's a perfectly fine, competent movie. I don't show it as a historical film in school. I just don't present it as it's entertainment. It's not education. I think there are some biopics that you could present more as education and, give some context and nuance. But there's so much that was changed about this story that, like, how would you explain it?
I think Amadeus you mentioned that earlier, Slate. That's a good example of one that, because again, it is a figure that's also further in the past that we don't really know as well. And we watched that in school too. I remember watching that in school. We didn't watch Malcolm X in school, but that's one that I could see like being a really good thing to use as an educational, vehicle. This would probably be more like a college, but I think Social Network. I think there's things like that would be, in terms of like certain types of classes that could be a good place to go with that. I did want to go back to the Rami Malek thing you asked. So just throwing this out here. Of these 5 actors, who do you think should have won Best Actor for 2018? We have Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. I'll be honest, I don't know that movie at all. Apparently it's about Vincent van Gogh, so it's a biopic. Bradley Cooper for A Star is Born, and Christian Bale as Dick Cheney in Vice. So there were 3 biopic actors in that awards race.
I haven't seen the Willem Dafoe movie. I mean, I thought Bradley Cooper was pretty good.
Fantastic.
In A Star is Born. I know I saw Vice. I just don't remember that much about it. Maybe I fell asleep.
It's Sam Rockwell as George Bush. It's absurd.
Well, Rami Malek won. So
he did win. Okay.
He did win. And it was also nominated for Best Picture that year. Green Book, that was the year Green Book won. So this is honestly probably the Oscars that saves 2001 from getting as much hate.
Green Book. Green Book is a very good movie, but it is not a movie that I would have suspected had won.
That's how I feel about A Beautiful Mind. Fine, it's a fine movie. Should not have won Best Picture.
Yeah, it's something
I'm
that
not disagreeing with that.
I struggle with in terms of again, it is so milquetoast.
Mayonnaise on toast on white bread.
On white bread.
It's just weird that it also was nominated for so much because I do think it is a very competent movie. Like it is there's nothing I can point to and say like this is bad. Like in terms of like how it's put together, really. Or offensive in terms of like it's just atrociously made, but none of it really feels award worthy. And I mean, again, like I'm not saying Howard didn't deserve the best director, but
I am.
But also, I think it's really weird that Mulholland Drive's only nomination is for David Lynch. And, like, to me, it's like, so that suggests there is an appreciation for this movie and what he was doing in this movie, and that's the only nomination? Like was it 6th? Like, would it have been in this place if
because not enough
Beautiful Mind?
people saw that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Like people, like, but, and again, of all the Best Picture noms, I think every movie nominated for Best Picture this year is just a flat-out better movie than A Beautiful Mind. Like, they're, like not even just of how they're made or what they're like. I just think they're all more entertaining. And I know I'm in the lone corner with Gosford Park, but like I think I will watch every single one of these movies multiple times over before I ever go back to Beautiful Mind again.
I'm telling you before we get to the final question, does this movie matter? I'm telling you 2 things. One. Lynch and Mulholland Drive do not win because one, like I said, not enough people saw the movie. It was a very, very small budgeted film with a very, very, very limited release. And 2, they're sitting here going, you want to give Best Director to the guy from Twin Peaks for a movie that was supposed to be a TV show that even ABC didn't want? That's why he didn't win.
And something you did say earlier, Allison, I do think the boomer code, like the boomer energy thing, like that, since you said that, that's really like danced in my mind is like, yeah, this is totally like the old fucks in the Academy were just eating this shit up. Like,
that's right. Give them the pin, boys.
The other thing I kind of thought regarding David Lynch, and granted, I don't know a tremendous amount about him personally. I would guess that he
probably didn't make many friends in Hollywood.
Right. And so much of the Oscars is the campaigning and going around and meeting people. And Ron Howard is beloved and well-liked and would go to industry events, and I just can't see David Lynch doing a lot of that. And I'm sure, because, how many people saw Iris? I didn't. How many people saw In the Bedroom, which is a movie I still haven't.
In the Bedroom we'll talk about that later in the year because it was a Best Picture nominee. It's really good, and also am stunned that it was in the race, and that at some point was like considered the front runner. Like,
but
Well-
so
I do think that maybe at the end of the year, for like one extra final bonus episode, we redo all the Oscars and maybe
we're doing
not,
that.
Maybe not necessarily like renominate everything, but we each choose like, for me, this should be the best director for this film for this year. This should be the best makeup.
We're doing that.
we're doing it.
You've already
Let's do it.
It'll be
That's
fun.
happening.
I think it'll be fun.
Okay. One last note for my special feature before we move on to the final question. Going back to our buddy Akiva Goldsman, and you mentioned earlier the way he credits his work on this film. So in terms of it was pointed out in a criticism of this movie was you took so many liberties with this man's life, like kind of excessively, and how do you sort of defend calling it a true story? Actual quote from Akiva Goldsman: "It's adapted. If you notice, my screen credit is written by, not screenplay by, which is a subtle Writers Guild distinction. It means a significant departure from source material." And I'm like, this has such strong Bill Clinton define what the word is vibes to it.
Yeah. I puffed it. I didn't inhale.
I mean, can we all just be upfront and say this was really the Academy recognizing him for Batman and Robin? Like that's,
They won for costume design that year too for nipples on Batman's suit.
I mean, this dude's. Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Lost in Space. He's Practical Magic, which is kind of like, I've never watched it, but a cult, I guess favorite that's getting a sequel that he's also writing currently. It's like it's a who's who of movies up in here. And
Right.
Guess what? He never wins another Academy Award.
Yeah. Yet. Remains to be seen. And I just wanted to mention we've talked about what I kind of think are my personal favorite biopics. I mentioned Rocket Man. I liked Walk the Line a lot. The Social Network I thought was really well done. Chaplin, Robert Downey Jr.'s great in that movie. Schindler's List, which is absolutely the sort of biopic you should show in school. Because it is a much more important message than just the story of Oskar Schindler. And I hate the Jordan character, but the Wolf of Wall Street I thought was so entertaining, and Leonardo DiCaprio was great in it. He's a repellent character, but I thought it was a great movie.
And that's part of the charm, though, is and why it works. I love Moneyball a lot. Like that's one that we haven't talked about. I really quite like a lot. Trying to think of other ones off the top.
There's
of my head.
so many that it's almost hard to pin down.
We'll talk about another one later in the year. I've actually never seen Ali, but we will be talking about that later in the year. Yeah, I drafted Ali. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Lincoln was good. I remember Lincoln. I remember liking Lincoln.
I liked I, Tonya. Speaking of Margot
Robbie.
I, Tonya's really good.
That one's fun.
That one's a lot of fun.
Like she plays up the white trash so good in that movie.
Another excellent Sebastian Stan performance.
And Allison Janney got her
she got a bird on her shoulder. Yeah.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, there are good ones. It's like that's the thing, right? Too, it's like because they are sort of like, especially with the music ones, they become almost like a form of intellectual property, like where we've run out of comic books, so we're running to real people now and artists, and I think you can make really interesting things about musicians, but it just becomes we've talked a lot about it, why it can't work sometimes.
Another fantastic one we haven't discussed, JFK.
Oh yeah,
I actually haven't seen JFK.
Oliver Stone's best work, maybe.
I've not watched it, but Milk is supposed to be another really good one, and that's only top of mind because Sean Penn, just won his third Oscar, and which is kind of
and didn't come to the ceremony,
and come to the ceremony. And
what was it?
I don't know if I can ever.
He couldn't be here, or maybe he didn't want to be here. What was it he said?
Oh yeah, he didn't want to be, or he couldn't make it, or he didn't want to, or something. Yeah, and I guess he was over in Ukraine hanging out with the president of Ukraine instead. So,
oh boy,
yeah.
Yeah, speaking of that, like, I mean, if we want to touch, the whole reason we're recording this out of order was talking about the Oscars, and we're 2.5 hours in and haven't talked about them yet. So
we've touched on them.
I mean,
yeah, we have.
I will
touched on
say
them.
I'm more or less satisfied. I'm glad.
Yeah, I was fine
I'm glad
with it.
Sinners got some recognition. I thought One Battle After Another was great. I'm really glad Amy Madigan got some accolades because I love that there were. So Frankenstein, if you think about like horror, Frankenstein won some awards.
Yeah, 3. I think it got all kind of like the costume, makeup,
Weapons.
I knew they were
production
going to do
design.
that.
And oh my god, I'm blanking.
Sinners.
Yeah, Sinners. God Lord.
Yeah, it was
if
a good
if
week
we can, yeah,
for
it was
horror.
Good week for horror.
And honestly, like, I mean, I think everyone who won was probably the right call. I mean, I know Sinners and One Battle were kind of neck and neck there, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was a really close vote, because they're both really exceptional movies. And yeah, I think for the
Sinners
most part,
is the more rewatchable movie. I understand why Battle won, though.
I do think Sinners is more rewatchable, but I think One Battle is actually right there with it. I mean, I feel like I know you didn't. You had a
I
trouble
finished
with
it,
there.
and I did enjoy it. Like I actually really enjoy the last 45 minutes almost as much as I do the first 45 minutes. It's like the middle 45 that kind of I don't love, but it's enjoyable. It's a good movie. There's some great performances in there. I just think that like if I want to put something on to entertain me, it's going to be Sinners before it is One Battle for me. But I understand why it won.
I can't remember if we mentioned this when we talked about when the nominations came out, but when Sinners came out, the discourse, a lot of media kind of portraying it almost like it didn't live up to expectations and was sort of a failure, and just the way things
like
were
the box office stuff.
Yeah,
the
way things were worded was so strange, and I'm like, this movie is fantastic, and it made lots of money, and it's so. And Sunday night, when I was kind of going back through and reviewing all the winners, and there was a headline with like Sinners basically Sinners lost the most Oscars of any film of all time, and
because
I was like,
it was nominated for.
I was like, what a weird take.
Like, just clickbait shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I hate even
absolutely
using
clickbait shit.
clickbait as a phrase because I think people misuse it a lot, but that is like pretty much textbook.
That is for the people who are anti-black empowerment films to click on and enjoy. Ryan Coogler didn't do that. Guess what, motherfucker? He still won multiple awards.
Well, and he won Best Screenplay, which is, I think, the original screenplay, which is, kind of the award, at least historically, it seems like the award they give to the person that they think,
had the best,
might have deserved Best Director, but ain't going to get it. Like, that
because
Paul
Thomas Anderson
Paul,
was his turn.
PTA needs to win one.
It was his turn.
I mean,
it's that
great
part of
so.
it too. And Sinners, Sinners is exceptional, and there's also still a chance that it's probably not even close to the best movie that Ryan Coogler will make, which is exciting too. Like, I think he is a really good director that's hopefully fingers crossed going to be with us for a very long time. So, the rest of our lives, more than likely. So
when Timothée Chalamet plays the world's most famous controversial mime, he will win.
Bonus points if the mime has a disability or if he has to gain or lose a lot of weight.
Yes.
Yeah, and wear prosthetics.
Yeah. He will be a 400-pound mime.
With a vestigial
Absolute
tail.
Cinema.
Oh, man.
All right, oh my God, we've been going on so long. Let's finish.
How is this becoming our longest episode?
I don't know. So, guys, does this movie matter? Who wants to take it?
Well, it's hard to say yes. but it's also hard to say no. It is so in the middle. I can't
honestly
really choose.
see. It
is so milquetoast.
It's even milquetoast that I also can't decide.
It's aggressively average.
It's aggressively average.
It is like, okay. I'm gonna say yes because it gave Ron Howard his Oscar for Best Director. It gave Jennifer Connelly her Best Supporting Actress. Like, it gave, it highlighted them. And I don't think you can talk about the year 2001 without talking about this movie. You can't talk about
I think
in
I
the
could.
sense. No.
I mean, I guess we're the arbiters of that, right? So
what I mean by that is, in the sense is, you can talk about all these other great movies, and then you can say, but the Academy got it wrong. This is why, and talk about that. This is literally like caviar for the Academy to vote on. Like, this is what they fucking love and eat. It's Reese's peanut butter cups on Halloween, to them.
Except it tastes bad.
Yeah. What I'm saying,
it tastes like mayonnaise on white bread.
Yeah. So, like, that's why I say it does matter in that sense. The movie itself doesn't matter. No, because it's not even a true story, like, about the person. Like, there's so much shit that they left out and got wrong and changed and manipulated that it's insulting to our intelligence when you do the research for it. And Russell Crowe is fucking Russell Crowe. He will always be Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe could never.
He's just not. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he's not good. Does that make sense? He's not bad. He's not a bad actor, but he's not a great actor.
Are you saying he's milquetoast?
He is aggressively fine.
Aggressively average. Fine. Whatever. He is, like, if you go in the dictionary, you type in Urban Dictionary, type in the word mid, there's Russell Crowe's picture right there.
Josh.
So I don't know if this movie matters. I don't know. Yes.
I'm in the same park as you guys, I think, because, I mean, I know, it did win. I think your case, Slade, is the case for if it matters, if we land there, because you do have to talk about it as, like, this anchor that's sitting there dragging the year down, as far as, because it's, I mean, we're just 12 movies in, but this is a really exceptional movie year, and I think our draft illustrates that, and, like, the rest of our conversations throughout this year will illustrate. This is, I will contend, one of the best movie years that's ever existed, especially because of mostly where it sits in the period of time and what comes after it and how much things start to change after this year. And I guess that's also, movies like this kind of still get made, but they aren't made as much. Like, where there's a lot of biopics, but, like, biopics about boring ass people that no one's ever heard of, like aren't as frequent. And it did give Ron Howard as a director, and whether you think he's, again, he's probably the best person for this movie, because it is kind of like, you just want to down the middle, give me a good fastball that ain't going to get hit, but it ain't going to look pretty. But I don't even think it's probably far from his best movie. Like, Apollo 13 is probably his best movie, and I would throw a Grinch. I think The Grinch is a better
I'm telling you,
like
In the Heart of the Sea is his best movie, and I would follow that up with Drive.
But he's also a guy, like, his career's kind of, like, taking a weird turn. Like, I'm looking at some of his stuff, like Solo. I kind of like the Han Solo movie, but it's not, most people don't. Hillbilly Elegy's like a fucking offense to, like, people's senses, because of just for a lot of reasons.
Everything
but
about that.
Just a shitty book, so whatever. I'm gonna say yes, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like that I'm saying yes, but
okay. Then in that case, even though I am, again, right there in the middle, because I'm like, I just can't decide, but I'm going to say no. Only because the cast, I mean, Russell Crowe aside, no, Slade hates him so much, but the cast...
I don't hate Crowe, I just...
You're ambivalent about Russell Crowe, but I think they all have better performances elsewhere. I don't think this movie I mean, Paul Bettany in The Knight's Tale to me was much more.
He's way better.
He's way better. That's much more.
And he's the best part of this movie.
The platform. I mean, it gives Jennifer Connelly, an Oscar nom to get her in more stuff. Honestly, when I'm looking through her.
That's why
she really doesn't take advantage of it.
Married Jennifer Connelly. That's why this movie matters. They're still married together because of this movie.
That's true. And Christopher Plummer is great, and I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing that stands out that really would have influenced Hollywood or the culture in any significant way.
That's I think where I was maybe trying to get to is there isn't. You look at the rest of the movies, just the movies that were nominated for Best Picture. Okay, Gosford Park, Robert Altman's just kind of doing his weird thing. Okay, we can ignore that one. It's so clear, like, okay, they were going to just wait until Return of the King to give, the Lord of the Rings all its flowers, but whatever, that probably should have won. So if you just look at between In the Bedroom and Moulin Rouge, if you're not going to award the small movie that was just coming out of nowhere and everybody loved it out of can, Moulin Rouge. The more I think about it, the more I think Moulin Rouge probably should have been the movie that won Best Picture this year.
And
of the nominees,
it's such a love letter.
If you're going to ignore the Lord of the Rings thing.
Yeah, it's such a love letter to acting in Hollywood, and I don't.
As bad shit as that movie is too, but at least it's going for something. And that's what I would say about all the other movies is they're all going for something. This is just going for
mid.
Give me a double.
It's going for I'm going to be a TNT Sunday afternoon movie that you can fall asleep to.
Yeah.
Well, look again. I understand why you guys are saying that, and why you're saying that. It doesn't do anything to add to the cultural significance of Hollywood, and it doesn't expand anything. It doesn't change anything. But the reason why I say it matters is because I think it's a perfect example of look at how far we've come. Look at where the Academy was. Look at and don't get me wrong, they still fall for the bait here and there from time to time. But I think that 25 years later, there are movies that now win and they get nominated that never would have even got sniffed at in 2001 because it wasn't this formula that everybody was falling into to win Academies. You could, don't get me wrong. I feel like every 2 years or so, Spielberg's like, well, I guess I'll make a typical Oscar movie again, and we always get them, like The Fabelmans and whatever movie he did before that. Now he's doing another War of the Worlds.
Got another Alien movie.
Honestly, I am very pumped for that. I will eat that shit up.
I'm give me Spielberg and Aliens and I'm in. That's all you gotta.
War of the Worlds was great. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But
I really liked War of the Worlds.
Yeah, so I'm here for it. But my point is that I think it matters in the sense that it's a perfect example to look at where we were versus where we are now. I think if Sinners is made in 2001, it doesn't get touched.
Oh, it probably doesn't even come close to getting any nominations.
Probably doesn't get made.
Maybe costume design.
Maybe
it would be.
Maybe. I think Weapons, Amy Madigan doesn't even get looked at for Best Supporting Actress. You know what I mean? She's not.
You're right.
And her performance is 100 times better than what Jennifer Connelly does. That's my point in the sense that it matters in the sense of look at where we were and look at how formulaic it was and how closed-minded the Academy was at this time versus look at where we are now and that we can still honor people like Ethan Hawke who did a great performance of somebody who's making a play that's a well-known play and it's an ode to creation and an ode to acting and creating a musical and all of those things, and he's able to get nominated. But then we also have Michael B. Jordan in a horror movie that's also a drama, that's also a musical. It's
playing twins.
He wins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, playing twins, and he wins it. Now, my biggest travesty is that
are we going to go back to Tom Hardy?
Yes, he won playing the twins, and Tom Hardy didn't.
Oh my god!
It's not fair to Thomas Hardy,
bro. I thought about you because I was listening to a podcast. I think it might have been The Big Picture. It was a significant podcast, And they brought up Tom Hardy and the twins thing, like not like saying he should have won, but it just casually came up. I'm like, where the fuck am I recording?
I'm trying to tell you guys, Tom Hardy in Legend is great.
All right. I just want to mention, because we are recording this one so soon before it comes out. It's March 17th that I saw Project Hail Mary last night at a preview, and I loved it. So would highly recommend, because when this comes out, it will be in theaters. See it in a theater. It's great. If you've read the book, I think it is a fantastic adaptation. It is so funny and heartfelt and emotional, and yeah, Ryan Gosling.
Is it better or worse than A Beautiful Mind?
It is 100 million times better than A Beautiful Mind. Ryan Gosling has to carry this picture almost entirely by himself for most of it.
I love a good guy stuck in space.
Yeah, if we mentioned, irrational fears, and I talked about how I get very freaked out by the thought of space, but I can't stop watching space movies. But yeah. All right, we have been doing this for almost 3 hours, so let's shoot this lame horse.
Yeah, they heard I had to edit this within a week, and said, "Let's go long, y'all."
Yeah. Thank you all for listening, but let's trust our brains on this one and stop talking about this movie. Links to all our online hangouts are in the description, and if you aren't already, please consider watching us on YouTube, subscribing anywhere you'd like. And if you like what you heard, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, or whatever podcast app you're listening to. And if you didn't care for it, why are you still here? Feel free to move along. Any final thoughts?
Usually I say watch this movie. You can skip it.
I mean, watch it on a Sunday afternoon as you're taking a nap. It's fine.
Or you could watch a much better movie that came out in our episode last week, Murder on a Sunday Morning. Check that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's free on Tubi.
That would be a better use of your time.
Yes.
Watch it.
But until then, stay tuned for next week, where Josh is going to lead us in a discussion about a movie that 2 of the 3 of us agree is one of the best movies of all time. Josh?
Yes. Yeah, watch this movie. It's called Spirited Away. It, spoiler, fucking rocks.
Slate hates it.
I don't care what Slate has to say about it next week. We recorded that episode, 2 months ago probably at this point. Something like that. But yeah, that's a fun discussion though. We have my buddy Justin comes on and joins us for that one, and it's a good conversation, and a lot of Japanese history, anime history, a lot of things covered in that one.
I felt like I gave it a good talking about without destroying the movie.
A good talking about.
I gave it a good talking to.
You guys act like I just shit all over it. I felt like I was able to find redeeming qualities in the movie.
You were nicer to it than you were to Pulse.
Yeah, that's true. What do you have against Japanese movies?
I don't have anything against Japanese movies. That's the thing. I don't. It's frustrating.
Oh, and with that, we will see you next week. And in the meantime, if you're going to suggest swapping bodily fluids with someone, maybe think twice about that phrasing. See you later.
You will or you won't no more. Baby, I'ma do right.